Matt Carpenter will lead it off, followed by Jason Hayward and Matt Holliday here in the first. Johnny Peralta, Mark Reynolds, John Jay, Yadier Molina, Colton Wong, and Carlos Martinez is pitching and batting ninth. Brian Price in his second season as the manager of the Cincinnati Reds. And how about his starter here this afternoon? What do we know about this Cuban defector?
Throws about 92, 93. When he was in Cuba pitching for their national team, he was actually a middle reliever. So he doesn't really have a lot of experience as a starter. But with the injury to Homer Bailey, he's getting this spot. He's a guy that's going to throw again 92, 93 with a couple of different breaking balls, a sharp slider and one that'll open up a bit. Doesn't use his changeup very often.
Raisel Iglesias finishing up his warm-up tosses. We turn to the Toyota keys to the game.
Well, Dan, I think the keys are for Carlos Martinez to be consistent. We know how good he can be, but the question is, can he be that good for 7 innings? And that's what we'll be looking for today in his first start of the season, and looking for an offensive breakout for the Cardinals. They've kind of been in every game. They've been close games in the early going, but we really haven't seen it all gel together. Maybe today's the day.
Iglesias is 6'2", 185 pounds. Signed last year to a 7-year contract. The first pitch to Carpenter is taken for a strike. Kerwin Danley is calling the balls and strikes. Lance Barksdale down at first, DJ Rayburn at second, and Joe West, the crew chief, is at third. 0-1 pitch. No balls and 2 strikes. You mentioned Homer Bailey. He's on a rehab assignment today, trying to recover from a torn flexor tendon in his forearm. And he is the only Reds starter that is under contract for next season, including Iglesias if he stays in the rotation. Breaking ball hit to Joey Votto. Easy play for Joey. Puts it away. And there's 1 out. The defense presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Hamilton in center. Bosch is in left. Bruce in right. Frazier, Cozart, Phillips, and Votto on the infield, and Brian Pena switch hitting catcher behind the plate. Here's Jason Hayward. Hard to believe he is only 25 years old. Does not turn 26 until August 9th. I'm excited to hear the reception he'll get tomorrow on opening day.
And I'm sure he's happy. He's off to a good start. The Cardinals have gotten most of their offense from the 2 and 3 spots. Hayward and Holliday. The same is true for the Reds. Votto and Frazier are the bats you have to kind of handle on that side. But Hayward's 3 home runs in the early going, hit 381. 3 extra base hits, I should say.
Missouri Lottery Fox Tracks. This will get your attention. The 2-1. Up 2-2. Another good crowd here today. A beautiful afternoon on the banks of the Ohio. Great American ballpark. First time in the history of baseball they drew over 4 million collectively. And the crowds across baseball this week have been outstanding. A swing and a miss. Hayward, the first strikeout.
Talk to John Mabry about this pitcher Iglesias. How do you get information about him? And there's that changeup. He's not going to use it a lot, but he used it effectively there to Hayward. And Mabes' comment was there are really no secrets anymore in baseball. The video is out, and if you pitch in a spring training game, there are cameras on every place, including in the minor leagues. So when a young player comes to the big leagues that you're not that familiar with, they're not the mystery they used to be. So that kind of flash in the pan type player that would come up and then they find out in week 3 he can't hit a curveball, well, they already know that.
It's amazing, isn't it? What technology has done.
A lot of information.
Here's Matt Holliday, and a 1-0 pitch. But Pena, in the way that he's crouching behind the plate, reminiscent of Tony Pena. Benito Santiago used to do that as well. Santiago could throw from that position too.
So could Tony.
1 ball, 1 strike.
It's a position you really can't use with runners on base very often, and it just really kind of forces that low target. There's a pitcher that you really want to make sure he's throwing the ball down. Again, Tony Pena did that. My biggest gripe with Tony Pena is he would often throw the ball back to the mound faster than you would throw it to him, which was very disconcerting. He had a cannon. Kind of had a wind-up arm, though.
Weren't there a lot of catchers that did that for you personally?
Well, pretty much every one of them. Thanks, Dan.
2-2 the count.
I think one of the things that sets Yadier Molina apart as a catcher is not just the strong arm, but the quick release.
Sure. So 2 outs, nobody on. The 2-2 pitch. On the outside corner, he dropped down. 2 strikeouts in the inning. Carlos Martinez, his season debut coming up. With Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Billy Hamilton, signing player. The switch hitter leads it off. Then Joey Votto and Todd Frazier. Phillips, Bruce, Bosch, Pena, Cozart, the pitcher, Iglesias. Carlos Martinez has only made 8 starts in his career. And he's now in the rotation for St. Louis.
And this is where he wants to be. We mentioned it in the open. He's a guy that believes he's a starter, should be a starter, and he has enough pitches to be a starter. The question is, can he maintain his consistency throughout? And can he stay in his delivery, straight to the plate and under control?
Strike to Hamilton. Martinez wearing number 18 to honor his friend Oscar Taveras. The Cardinals have the OT patch added to the sleeve of their jerseys for the season. OT decal will be displayed at Busch Stadium as well. We'll see that tomorrow. The team will renovate a baseball field in Taveras' hometown as well in the Dominican. One ball and 2 strikes on Hamilton. Third baseman Carpenter now with 2 strikes backs up. That's a foul ball.
And just to maybe comment further on Oscar Taveras and the relationship with Carlos Martinez, you just think about that loss for a young player and these guys expecting to play years together. And, you know, it's going to be an ongoing thing for Carlos. He's not going to kind of just get over it overnight.
Fair ball. Off the sidewall, and the Cardinals may have caught a break there. That goes in the corner. Hamilton's at third. So a leadoff double just past the diving Mark Reynolds, who's at first base today.
Well, if Hamilton keeps hitting the ball on the ground, he's going to find some holes, and he's going to be an effective leadoff hitter. That pitch middle in. Pulls it right inside the bag. Not a lot of room inside the bag with Reynolds guarding the line, but he hit it hard enough to get it past it.
Molina and Martinez will go over the signs. What's interesting about Billy Hamilton is that against Yadier Molina, he's 5 for 5.
That conversation was about how careful are we going to be to Joey Votto with first base open. Yes, it's the first inning, but Votto's kind of the offense right now for Cincinnati, or he's a big part of it anyway.
There were times in which Martinez struggled against lefties, and in this lineup today, there are 5.
Including a couple of switch hitters. The changeup should be the equalizer against left-handers. Didn't use it as much a year ago as we heard about. In the minor leagues, they talked about him having one of the best changeups of all Cardinal minor league pitchers, but we didn't see it a lot last year. The hard thing, Dan, about pitching around Joey Votto is he'll let you.
2-1. That was the changeup there. Votto in game 1 of this series, a pair of 2-run homers off of John Lackey. And he's off to a terrific start. 3 home runs, 8 RBIs in the first week. The 2-1 pitch. Coming into this season, Carlos Martinez, and you see the lefties there at 301 in his career. Pitched about 30 innings of winter ball in December to get ready to be a starter. That's pulled foul. The Cardinals would love to see him be efficient, as you've talked about, get through 5, but go deeper into games. And I think that'll be the real test for Carlos. We know his stuff is outstanding, but will he be able to go deep into games?
Such a balance, isn't it, when you've got a guy that's got electric stuff, how to use that stuff, but use it efficiently so that you can be out there a long time. Not every pitch needs to be kind of 100% max effort. You just need to really be an artist, and that's a kind of an acquired skill.
Swing and a miss and a strikeout of Votto. The Hyundai pitch arsenal, that fastball nearly 70% of the time, the curve and the changeup.
And the changeup only 3%. I think that's what we're talking about, Dan. Just not really finding the right way to use that coming in the 8th inning when you need a strikeout and you're kind of coming in blazing and you got the emotions and all that we've seen from Carlos. But as a starter, he needs to be a 3-pitch pitcher, and certainly used it well against Votto in that at-bat.
Here's Todd Frazier. Homered yesterday in game 2 of the weekend series. Already with 3 at 29 a year ago. He's driven in 6. Part of being a starter and going deeper into games is also trying to have those quick innings. Not necessarily worrying about the strikeout. You can be efficient with ground ball outs, fly ball outs, whatever the case may be.
Sometimes you have to convince a young pitcher that the best inning of all is a 3-pitch inning. Not that you're going to get that. They'll take something in there. But, boy, if you could get a 3-pitch inning. Colton Wong, by the way, holding Hamilton close at second with the benefit of the shift. Puts him close by.
That pitch right there on right-handers is nasty stuff. 1-2 the count.
So the breaking ball for a right-hander to right-hander goes away. And it's hard to kind of keep your bat head on it. The changeup for a left-handed batter, the ball will go away and have a similar experience.
Ground ball left side. Peralta low throw picked by Reynolds. Hamilton stays put at second base. Defense presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Holiday, Jay, Hayward in the outfield. Carpenter and Peralta on the left side. Wong and Reynolds on the right. Molina behind the plate. Brandon Phillips, a versatile hitter over the years in this lineup, and today he's batting cleanup.
Really a key player for this team this year. If you're going to look up and down their lineup, and they've got better hitters, but he can be a big RBI guy, and you mentioned his flexibility. He can hit all over the lineup. His bat did not really look very quick first couple of games of this series, but certainly has potential.
In the air, left center. Well hit, and oh, what a catch by John Jay. Outstanding play by Jay in left center to rob Brandon Phillips. He had a long way to go and comes up with it on the track. What a great catch by John Jay. Scoreless after 1. Johnny Peralta leads it off. This is the first time we've seen Iglesias. I did not see him pitch in spring training, obviously. Didn't see him on tape or on TV. That first inning, he reminded me of El Duque Orlando Hernandez.
Let's take one more look, Dan, at that play by John Jay. And as Al said, he was playing fairly shallow. This ball hit on the nose by Brandon Phillips. And if you're John Jay, you're worried about running into both Matt Holliday and the wall, both of which would hurt. and still manages to make the play. That was a terrific play.
Last time the Reds had an all-Cuban battery was 1918. Dolph Luque pitching to Manuel Cueto, and they have a Cuban battery here today. Impressive first inning by Iglesias. 2-2 the count on the Cardinals shortstop.
Former Red great Joe Morgan at the ballpark today. Had a chance to visit with Joe, and he said just what you said. He's El Duque. It reminds him of El Duque quite a bit, and they kind of held him under wraps a bit in spring training. They didn't want too many people to see him and get video on him, but of course, again, you can't hide fully from the cameras anymore.
He struck out Holiday and dropped down. That really reminded me of El Duque. He would go with different arm angles and ways that he delivered the baseball. Hit to short, Zach Cozart.
You asked me yesterday, Wainwright and Johnny Cueto both use these different deliveries in order to be able to give a different look to the hitter. And the question was, why don't more pitchers do that? And I think my answer was, and I've just thought about that more, the real answer is they can't. I mean, it's very difficult when you see a guy drop down and actually use a different arm action to have command and control from that and not just kind of flip one up. You have to be very smart as far as your body awareness is concerned to be able to do that. Very few pitchers can.
Mark Reynolds at first base today. The 1-0. Seven consecutive seasons with 20 or more home runs for Reynolds. And the last couple of years it's been with limited duty too to get to that number. Not an everyday player. See right there, when he drops down like that, that is very reminiscent of El Duque.
Absolutely.
2-1 the count. For 3 years he pitched in Cuba's best league. Also pitched for the Cuban national team in the World Baseball Classic. He defected, established residency in Haiti, and then signed a 7-year contract with Cincinnati. The 2-2 on the outside corner. He has struck out 3 of the first 5.
Looking at the delivery of Iglesias, he's right over the rubber to that point. He's kind of tucked in, head down, and at that point he can kind of go 2 different ways. He either comes sidearm or straight over the top. That delivery straight over the top, but he does have that little kind of gathering the way El Duque did. Very, very similar. Head down, everything kind of crunched together.
Here's John Jay. I don't know if you've ever seen the 30 for 30 on the Hernandez brothers and how they were treated in Cuba, leaving Cuba. It's unbelievable. We just take so much for granted living in this country. Brennan Bosch puts it away. Iglesias 6 up, 6 down in his major league debut. Look at Matt Adams. Let's check in with Jim Hayes. Jimmy, he's not in the lineup, is he, today?
No, Dan, and as you know, most big leaguers will tell you it's always a relief to get that first hit of the season out of the way. Adams was 0 for the season until he took Johnny Cueto deep yesterday in the top of the 4th. Adams said he was looking fastball, got a changeup up and took care of it. Adams ended up with a couple of hits on the day, not in the starting lineup today. He told me he wasn't worried about being hitless in the season because he felt like he was taking good swings. He also told me he totally gets Mark Reynolds starting at first base. He says everyone needs to get some at-bats. As for Reynolds, this is just his 3rd at-bat that he just took all season. He said he's still transitioning into really being a part-time player, Dan, because he has been part-time before, but he's always got a substantial number of at-bats. So he's transitioning.
Here's Jay Bruce. Thank you, Jim. And there's no doubt one of the hardest jobs in baseball is to come off the bench, hit late in games against guys that are specialists or the closer, the hard throwers. It is extremely difficult to do that. John Jay again out in center. Can he get this one? Home run. Jay Bruce, his second of the year.
Such an easy swing from Jay Bruce on a ball away, up and away, out of the strike zone. And we have seen the ball carry very well at Great American Ballpark here in the first week of the season. And Bruce must have hit that one right on the screws.
Here's Brennan Bosch in strike one. Celebrating his 30th birthday today is Brennan Bosch, who's in left, and Marlon Byrd will come off the bench. The human element of the game of baseball is that we'll get back to St. Louis probably around 7 or 8 o'clock. And the players will be in new places to live for many of them, trying to get situated. There's a diving stop by Carpenter. And out at first, he got him. Oh, what a play by Matt Carpenter. Will Brian Price decide to challenge? He challenged yesterday and lost.
Terrific play by Matt Carpenter, whether the play stands or not. He has to dive for it first. That's hard part number one, but then come up and make a strong throw right on the money to get the runner is hard part number two. It looks like they're not going to challenge it. Good call, good play.
So now it's Brian Pena, switch hitting catcher.
So the human element you're talking about, the players finding their new place and getting used to kind of the opening day excitement for what we're used to now at Busch Stadium for those of us who've been around it for a long time. But even for the players from St. Louis, Mike Matheny hasn't been home. He was talking before the game, hasn't been in his house for 2 months. And you think spring training and then the kind of long spring training, the minor league exhibition games, start out on the road. And, you know, he said he's just thrilled to kind of get back home again and get settled.
Fought off and a base hit into right. Pena, a one-out single. Kids love to cheer on the Cardinals, and next Sunday, all kids ages 15 and younger entering with a ticket receive their very own Cardinals baseball T-shirt, courtesy of Pasta House and Coca-Cola. And you can get those tickets right now at cardinals.com/promotions. Martinez trying to keep up with everybody else in this rotation because the pitching has been outstanding for St. Louis for the most part. First 4 games, the Cardinals gave up a total of 17 hits. It was the fewest in the major leagues, and you have to go back to 1991, a team that matched what the Cardinals did. Popped up to the right side by Zach Cozart and out of play.
One of the things I'd be looking for as it relates to Carlos Martinez staying consistent is how he pitches out of the stretch. He had Billy Hamilton on base in the first inning, so he had to get into the stretch right away with some stress because of Hamilton's speed. He has a tendency to rush to the plate, and that makes him kind of open up a little bit too much and get flat. But so far, he seems to be in his delivery, throwing straight to the plate.
And that one scoots away from Molina. Pena advancing on the wild pitch.
It's a breaking ball and kind of missed his release point there, held onto it too long, pulled it into the ground. It happens. Tough ball to scoop for Molina.
Good pitch. Gets Cozart to chase. Second strikeout for Carlos Martinez, and it brings in the pitcher, Iglesias.
Well, if we have little video on Iglesias as a pitcher, we have about 1% of that as far as what he can do with the bat. There's really no idea. He's been a middle reliever for those years in Cuba. Who knows? He's got happy feet. I can see that already.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We're told he's still learning English. He's learning about 3 words a day. You learn all the baseball words first. Secondly, you learn some words you probably don't want to say publicly. Things you hear in the clubhouse, they just kind of get into your vocabulary. Long way to go for him.
Chopped to short. Peralta gets Iglesias. Reds get on the board. Jay Bruce, his solo home run. 1-0 after 2. Iglesias in the big leagues. First ever major league start. And hustling out for his warm-up tosses just moments ago. How do you not pull for these guys that defect from Cuba and what they go through just to get to this spot?
Well, you can see the excitement and everything that he's doing on the field. The way he's pitching, he's got the kind of the artistry going. He's changing speeds. He's hitting that outside corner, especially against right-handers, with the fastball that's coming back over the plate and the slider, so that's tough on righties. But even the way he approaches at bat, the way he ran on the field, this is a guy that is, I mean, unbelievably freed up and thrilled right now to be a big leaguer.
One ball, 1 strike.
Dan, you can only guess at all the things that are going on in his mind.
Yeah. And by the way, he looks pretty good. Be interesting to see the second time around, or when teams start getting some of that video of him, the adjustments that they'll make against him, and then vice versa.
Well, not just the second or third time through the lineup today, but maybe the second time you see him overall. And there is some thought that he's going to be a reliever at some point, and he's headed there. We talked about Bailey earlier, and they've got other guys that can start. This team lost Latos and Alfredo Simon from a year ago out of their rotation.
Popped up to the right side off the bat of Yadier Molina.
Making it look easy.
There's Colton Wong. Interesting spot in the game yesterday with Colton Wong. Couple runners on, and it was curious because we wondered why he was putting down a bunt with a pitcher on deck, and you had some clarification on that.
Yeah, it was a sign given from Mike Matheny, and it was basically the suicide squeeze, or a variation of that. The idea being they weren't going to give Colton Wong anything good to hit with Rosenthal up next, and instead of the risk of him popping up or being over aggressive or bouncing into a double play, the thought is if he just gets a bunt down anywhere, it's a run. So the suicide squeeze was on. He just didn't execute. He didn't get on top of the ball and get it. And really, when that's you're in that situation, you know, you bunt it, try to bunt it fair, but worst case scenario, the ball goes foul and it's just a strike. And I think he maybe just wasn't careful enough with that particular pitch, and Mike and he talked about it. But I think the important thing is that came from the bench, and it was a strategy that more teams are using. Safety squeezes with runners at first and third when you feel like you just have to get that next run and want to avoid the double play.
1-2 is a base hit into center. First hit allowed by Iglesias. Wong is aboard.
There are teams that try to pitch Colton Wong up and in both. And this pitch in that location, middle in, but he got enough of the bat head on it, kept his hands inside the ball enough to drive it in to center field. You've got to have quick hands to reach that ball.
Now Carlos Martinez, former shortstop, converted to pitcher. Bunts it in the air, and Pena's got it. Iglesias, by the way, is also a converted shortstop. And speaking of shortstops from Cuba, Aledmys Diaz, the Cardinals signed him. He told me in spring training that he had not seen his mother for over 3 years until this past Christmas. Very hard to communicate with family back in Cuba. He defected, dealt with some shoulder issues last year. He's in the minor leagues. The Cardinals do believe he will be a big leaguer at some point.
Homered the other day in Springfield. Starting shortstop there with the idea that, you know, he could move quickly.
And his language, in terms of the barrier of not understanding English, is improved to the point that he says to me, he says, I don't know English very well. And then we got done with the conversation. He knew it better than I did. I mean, he spoke fluent, no problem. He said he learned by watching TV, some of the classes the Cardinals have offered. Phillips, nice play from his knees, takes a hit away from Matt Carpenter. Midway through 3, Cincinnati on top. And Cincinnati on that list, 1995, the division series for the Reds. You thought a couple of years ago they had it in the bag. I mean, they were up 2-0 on San Francisco. And then San Francisco, Hunter Pence does his thing in the dugout, starts getting the troops rallied. And all of a sudden they go to the World Series and win it.
Well, on that list, you see the Washington Nationals, formerly the Montreal Expos, and talk about having a series in the bag. The Nationals against the Cardinals, and we know what happened there in that terrific game. Adam Wainwright's start and just the flood of offense that came late. It may be one of the most exciting playoff games that I've seen in Cardinal history.
No doubt. Here's Billy Hamilton, 2 balls and 1 strike. Doubled his first time up. Billy from the great state of Mississippi, where he was all-state in 3 different sports: baseball, football, and basketball. Turned down a football scholarship from Mississippi State. In the minor leagues, he broke Vince Coleman's stolen base record by 10. 155 in a single season.
It's interesting. Jim Riggleman, third base coach, was on with Mike Shannon in our pregame show, and he said that he managed Hamilton in the minor leagues and also managed Vince Coleman, and said they're very similar in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Offensively, and one thing he says about Hamilton is his defense is just his best asset. And people talk about his legs all the time, but what he really is a great defensive center fielder.
Strikeout number 3 for Carlos Martinez. Here's Joey Votto. Votto from Toronto, Canada. Did play a little hockey growing up. His talents took him to the sport of baseball. And the posters that he had on his wall, you would think, well, maybe it's Larry Walker, you know, Canadian-born player. Maybe some hockey players. It was Ted Williams. Grew up idolizing Ted Williams, and actually travels with his book, The Science of Hitting. Reynolds is there. He was on the line, steps on the bag, 2 down. And it brings in Frazier.
And your guy was Ozzie Smith, if I remember correctly.
The one and only. We'll see Ozzie tomorrow in the Hall of Famers. Can't wait.
Well, you mentioned it yesterday. All the players keep talking about the 2 things that make opening day special. Mike Matheny saying that guys are talking about what opening day experience will be like with the guys who haven't had it yet. He said haven't really gone over the schedule with them because they're learning it from other players. But the two things that keep coming up are the Hall of Famers and the Clydesdales.
Yep. 1 ball, 1 strike on Frazier. The fantasy camp I was catching, and Ozzie Smith came to the plate and he popped one up, and I said, "I got your go crazy." And he looked back at me and said, "Really?" I said, "Sorry, Mr. Smith."
You started out tough, I see.
He is absolutely the best. The great Ozzie Smith. Strikeout number 4 for Carlos Martinez. Reds on top, 1-0. I'm Dan McLaughlin and our entire Fox Sports Midwest crew. Seeing the numbers that have changed this year for the Cardinals. Mike Matheny presented Jason Hayward with number 22 at the winter warm-up. Very important number for Jason. High school teammate passed away, and his name was Andy Wilmot. Those two were players together in high school that won a state title, and he was coming back from college and passed away. That pitch is popped up, and Jason said that Andy's mother was a teacher at the school and also kind of like the team mom. Everybody just loved her so much, and so he was issued number 22 when he was in the Arizona Fall League by the Atlanta Braves, and he wears that number to honor his friend. And the first jersey he ever got, he signed it and brought it to Mrs. Wilmot to make sure that Andy was not forgotten. Here's Matt Holliday.
Usually when a player gives up a number to another player, he normally kind of extracts some kind of payment. But when it's the manager, do you get the number in exchange for a commitment to sign here for a couple of extra years on the side, or what's the deal if you're Mike Matheny?
We're just greasing the wheel a little bit.
Yeah,
here's 22, and by the way, we'll throw some money at you, and why don't you stay with us? We're good guys, huh?
I think Mike would be happy as long as he hits 20 home runs with that number and drives in 80 runs and steals 20 bases and plays a outstanding right field. That'd be payment enough, I would assume.
We've already seen the defense. I mean, his defense has been really good. Saw it all spring. We'll see if the offense can catch up. 2 balls and 1 strike on Holliday.
You know, it's an underrated part of this game, outfield arms, and if you're a casual observer of the game, you may not notice how much fun that is, and unless you've maybe been around it a lot. But at the ballpark, you can really tell when an outfielder makes a strong, awesome throw, an Ankiel-like throw, and I mean that can really wow a crowd. And we're going to have some of those moments from Hayward.
The strikeout, and that's number 4 for Iglesias. He's gotten Holliday twice, Hayward once, and Mark Reynolds once.
Well, he worked him away in the early going, and he kind of ties him up on that ball that kind of comes back over the plate. Kind of a late swing. Holliday trying to drive it the other way, which he's very good at doing, but Iglesias is just on a roll right now.
There's Johnny Peralta. We're seeing him drop down. Sometimes he'll quick pitch you. Works from the first base side of the rubber. Other times he's coming over the top. Drops down again. That misses low and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Peralta grounded out to short his first time up.
You know, dropping down is not necessarily a guarantee that it's going to be a good pitch, too. I think about guys that I've seen that have done that you know, Joaquin Andujar, we'd notice occasionally he'd drop down. He liked to do it for flair and for fun, but a lot of times he'd give up ropes when he'd do that. The ball would flatten out, wouldn't have the normal sink that he would have up top. Tom Henke used to throw occasionally drop down, especially when he was in the minor leagues, but I don't know that was his most effective arm slot.
3-1. And that is the interesting point of what you bring up, how a pitch could flatten out.
Yeah.
When you do drop down. We've seen a lot of breaking balls from Iglesias when he's dropping down too.
On my way down at the end of my years, I tried dropping down just for fun, and it wasn't fun at all. I mean, not at all.
Didn't go well?
Well, if the object was to back up third base, it was fun, but to get some running in.
Yeah. 3-2 pitch, and he missed. So the first walk issued from the right-hander. Next time you're looking for great seats, head to StubHub. There are no surprise fees at checkout. Price you see is the price you pay at StubHub. A 2-out walk, and here's Mark Reynolds. Reynolds can play third base, first base, even a little outfield if need be. And today he's at first with Adams, the lone left-handed bat, on the bench. You know, the player that came out of spring that was hitting everything hasn't played at all, and that's Pete Kozma. Ed Easley is your backup catcher today. Tony Cruz will rejoin us tomorrow. Grichuk is on the bench. His one start, he homered, and then Peter Borges has been used primarily for speed on the bases.
Well, I'd love to see Ed Easley get an at-bat today. How about you?
Yeah.
Somehow, some way. But Kozma, too. And by playing Reynolds today, you kind of dust the rust off a little bit. You give him a chance to kind of get enough at-bats where you get a feel. Matheny saying before the game he believes he's going to be an important part of this club.
That's a fair ball. Down into the corner. And Peralta on his way to third. Reynolds in with a double. It was right on the line. And it brings in John Jay.
Kind of a bouncer to the left side, but it finds a hole as Hamilton did in the first inning, just inside the third base bag this time and into the corner.
Just joining us, John Jay in the first inning with a remarkable catch in left center. Great play on the track. First time up, he flied out to left.
First hit with a new team always feels good.
Nice play by Pena to pick that, keep it in front.
Well, here's what we don't know about Iglesias, and maybe the Reds don't know about Iglesias, is what happens when you get a little stress. When you've got the flair and everything's working and you got a lead and nobody's on and you can kind of do your thing, but now you've got some stress. What does he get better? Is he Jordan Spieth, or does he fall apart?
2-0. Who you got in the Masters today?
I like the left-hander for obvious reasons.
I do too. Here's a 2-0. 3 balls, no strikes. Molina on deck. Outfield is straight away. Reynolds, the runner at second base. Peralta is at third. They turn him loose in a high fly ball. Left field. Bosch is there. Cardinals strand 2. They've left 3 on this afternoon. Midway through 4. 1-0 Reds. Who will be the starting goaltender? I think that's the big question right now with the Blues. Brandon Phillips, Jay Bruce, and Brennan Bosch here in the 4th inning. Interesting. John Jay, runners at second and third, swinging on 3-0.
I think if you've got a hotter Yadier Molina, that would never happen. But with the 3-0 count, hitters count, and one of the great debates that I think there's no right wrong answer to. It's just kind of a feel thing. They let him swing the bat. He didn't come up with a base hit, but yesterday we saw Todd Frazier swing at a 3-0 pitch and hit one out of the ballpark. And again, I think if Molina is swinging the bat better, if he's in a good part of his season, I think John Jay takes that pitch.
That's pitch number 51 from Carlos Martinez. 1-0 Reds on a solo home run by Jay Bruce, his second of the year.
And I like the changeup that we've seen from Martinez. He's had good command, but he's really used the off-speed pitch as well.
Fly ball into left, coming on and making the catch on a late break is Matt Holliday. The Chevy pitch tracks.
Sometimes you throw an off-speed pitch, and sometimes you hit a changeup. And that's what happened to Matt Holliday. The ball didn't come off the bat as hard as he thought, so he got that late jump, had to slide for it, but made the play.
Here's Bruce. His home run to center field, first time up. And now the Cardinals, with a strike on Jay Bruce, use the shift. They keep Peralta at short. Holliday, or rather Carpenter, excuse me, moves from third base towards the second base area. I always felt if the Cardinals were going to shift, that made more sense to put Carpenter in that spot, being familiar with seeing the ball off the bat, having played second base.
I understand when the shift first kind of came into play that people at least have on record, and maybe it happened even earlier than that, was against Ted Williams in the World Series, and they did just that. They moved the third baseman to the other side of second base in that series and kept the shortstop where he was, with the idea of let's not kind of mess up everybody else's normal look at plate and the normal throw to first base, and it makes a lot of sense to me. I still can't quite remember, and I have a hard time with this. A ground ball to Carpenter right now is a 5-3, right?
Correct.
Ground ball to the right side, and it's a 5-3.
Correct. Or you just make a little notation in your book. S53 shift.
Okay. Not a bad idea.
The 2-2. And the count runs full. Cardinals yesterday used 5 relievers for the final 8 outs. Part of that was to get the work for the relievers. Pulled foul again.
And there isn't probably a part of this game that evokes more conversation and debate than how a manager uses his bullpen. In fact, how a manager uses his bullpen is basically the reputation that he's going to get as a manager. It's not the hit and run and the steals, it's the bullpen work, and there's multiple ways to do it yesterday, but I think Mike Matheny did want to get everybody into the act, and he gave him that opportunity.
BJC Healthcare Difference Maker, a look at the Reds and the Cardinals and the starters, what they've been able to do. This is since 2012. Cincinnati's starters last year, very good. Alfredo Simon, an all-star, 15-game winner. As Bosch looks at his strike, he was robbed first time up by Matt Carpenter. Matt Latos went to Miami, as you talked about earlier, Rick, and then you've got Johnny Cueto available after this year, Mike Leake, so free agents to be, and only Homer Bailey under contract. So Walt Jocketty really shifting up this rotation in anticipation of what may happen come this offseason.
Reds have a couple of young starters that are a couple of years away that really aren't in the equation right now, and they're just trying to bridge the gap to those guys before they get here. The Pirates were kind of like that for a while. How do we bridge the gap with some veteran guys and some kind of piecemeal together a rotation when guys like Garrett Cole are ready?
Nothing in 2 the count. Brendan Bosch, 2010 with Detroit, led all American League rookies in home runs and RBIs. Last year, he won a batting championship in the PCL. Obviously, this guy can hit. Reds added him after a invitation to spring training to their 40-man roster, and here he is in the big leagues again. A short lead at first by Jay Bruce. Outfield is straight away. There's that changeup again. Good pitch. And that is strikeout number 5.
His changeup is so good right now, you can almost guess that it's coming, and you still might not hit it because that late movement just fools you and breaks away from where your bat angle is, and he just couldn't lay off that pitch in the dirt. It's become a weapon for Martinez. Again, that's the changeup that we heard about when he was starting in the minor leagues, when he first came to the Cardinals.
Here's Brian Pena. Pena on the ground to third. Carpenter across the diamond. The stretch by Reynolds. Reds have stranded 3. We head to the 5th. Cincinnati on top. Guys, thank you. Looking forward to opening day and seeing you back in St. Louis. Yadier Molina, Colton Wong, and Carlos Martinez against Iglesias here in the top of 5. Jay Bruce's home run, the lone run scored in this game.
These young pitchers have handled themselves well today, and I really like what Carlos Martinez was able to do, Dan, after giving up that home run to Jay Bruce in the 2nd inning. He didn't really panic and kind of just stayed together and given up just 1 hit since then.
That's a base hit down into the corner for Yadier Molina. Thinking 2. It's dropped by Bosch, so no chance to get Molina, who trots into second base with a leadoff double.
Probably the best swing we've seen from Yadi. He did have a base hit, and actually a big hit in the game yesterday. Had a 2-for-4 day and kind of got on the positive side offensively, but that swing even better than the ones we saw 24 hours ago.
Now Colton Wong, tying run at second base. Now we see Yadier Molina go to right a lot. However, just no authority a lot of times the last, let's say, couple of weeks, even in spring training. Slowly hit ground balls. That one he jumped on.
Saw something interesting at the batting cage yesterday. David Bell was working with the pitchers, and when you work with the pitchers, that's on their hitting, that's a kind of a different job and a different chore. He had him go through a round swinging with as quick a bat speed as they could. He actually wanted him to overswing, swing hard. He believes that every once in a while you have to do that just to kind of get that quick bat speed, and yes, you're not over swinging all the time, but occasionally you have to fire those fast twitch muscles and get that feel of airing it out.
You've seen the movie Happy Gilmore, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Larry Walker told me that one way that he would get loose and ready for a game, he would go into the batting cages, put it on a tee, and run up and hit the ball like Happy Gilmore. And I'm being serious about this. And he said his goal was he tried to put 3 exactly up the middle, but he was telling his hands and his body exactly what you're saying. Swing hard, swing, be quick, get to the ball, and that's how he would get ready. Oddly enough,
I love it.
Different ways.
The influence of Happy Gilmore. I love it.
That was the best way I could describe it. That almost hit Wong again.
Now, did he get that from the movie, or he just did it on his own?
He did it on his own. Full count on Colton Wong. Martinez on deck. Molina, the runner at second base. And he walked him. Iglesias has slowed things down here in the 4th and the 5th. Pena out to visit, it looks like, or to set the defense. Let's check in with Jim Hayes.
Yeah, Rick was saying last inning that maybe the Reds don't know really what to expect from Iglesias. I was talking to some folks on the Red side, and they were saying just that. They said They don't know how long he's able to go, how he'll deal with his nerves. Obviously, he's doing pretty well so far. They said when they first got their hands on him, he had a repertoire that included 8 or 9 pitches, and since then they've basically been trying to get him to focus on 3 or 4. But so far, very impressive, guys.
And Jim, in terms of video for the Cardinals, I know you visited with some of the players. They didn't see much of him, did they?
No, because as you guys touched on, he wasn't on TV a lot during spring training, so they really just had a couple innings to look at, and I guess there's some guesswork involved.
Martinez tried to sacrifice back in the third and popped it up in the air. It was caught by Pena. Let's see how the Cardinals want to play this with runners at first and second. Reds could be aggressive with Molina running from second base if they want to try to get him. They thought about it. Votto to Phillips, covering the bag at first. Runners at second and third, and a good opportunity now for Matt Carpenter.
Well, normally you try to bunt the ball to third when you've got a runner at first and second, but Martinez deadens the ball well enough. Votto, very good defender, but you know, with the lead, you get the safe play, you get the out, and I'm sure that's how he's coached. And different score. Maybe he tries to get Molina at third, but nice job of bunting by Martinez in the way he deadened it.
That's it.
Pena had to go out on the mound to communicate, it looked like, between Iglesias and Frazier, as those two were talking about how they wanted to play this. Matt Carpenter is 0 for 2. He's grounded to first and grounded to second. Ball one. Hayward on deck.
Think about the opportunity for miscommunication that can happen in any athletic event between teammates, but you add language into that, and you better get it right. You better have a player that can speak fluent Spanish on the field and interpret for you.
The 1-0. There's a lot of talk at the end of spring training of all major league teams, a mandate from Major League Baseball to have an interpreter for the media and for those players too.
Most teams do have them now. They don't count as one of their uniform coaches. That you're able to have one at the ballpark.
The 2-0 is a base hit into right. This game is at least tied. The throw from Bruce is not in time. Colton Wong and the Cardinals lead it 2-1. Wong was flying around third. The headfirst slide. The tag was late, and Carpenter picks up RBIs 2 and 3 on the season. And St. Louis on top 2-1.
Good slide by Colton Wong. Big hit by Matt Carpenter. I'm not sure Pena wasn't blocking the plate a bit at home. Here's the base hit. Strong arm in right. One run scores for sure. Here's the arm to the backside. And does he throw that leg out without the ball? You can't do that. Let's look at that one more time. There's the speed of Wong. And he goes head first, but the feet are in his way, and that could be dangerous for Colton Wong, especially with the head first slide. I'm not sure if Pena did that as much on purpose or he did by having to kind of get the short hop.
Right.
His legs went backward, but be interesting if he'd have been able to block him from touching the plate and he tagged him. We might have had a discussion.
No balls and a strike on Jason Hayward. Cardinals have their first lead 2-1. Tony Cingrani is now throwing in the pen, the former starter for the Reds. They have 3 lefties in their pen. That's ripped into right and into the corner. Carpenter being waved in. Here he comes. He'll score, and Hayward is out at third base. So many different things happening on this play. I think Phillips was shocked that the Cardinals waved in Carpenter, and he scored easily to make it 3-1. And it looks like Mike Matheny may want to challenge the play over at third.
Well, the Cardinals will certainly take the run for the out at third. Carpenter Phillips not making the play at home, but coming to third. There's the tag. Looked like it might have been a high tag on Hayward. Clearly the ball beat him there, but I think Mike Matheny wanted to make sure that the tag was made in time. Looks like he is not going to challenge it.
So already 3 doubles for Hayward this season. And I'm with you. It looked like the tag was indeed high, but the Cardinals will not challenge. And St. Louis with a 3-1 lead.
Well, Dan, you mentioned it earlier. Second, third time through the lineup. Will Iglesias be more hittable? Will guys kind of get an idea of what he's trying to do?
Holiday, ground ball to third. Todd Frazier makes the play. St. Louis, though, has struck with 3 runs and a lead. 3-1 midway through 5. Since 2013, most by a wide margin in the National League and most runs scored.
And Matt Holliday on that list.
Zach Cozart, then a pinch hitter. Skip Schumacher has moved to the on-deck circle. We'll see the top of the lineup.
I'm looking forward to watching Skip run to the plate, not adjust his batting gloves, not step out of the box, and be ready to go right away. Think that's going to happen?
We're about to find out.
You know, we heard about the speed up rules. I'm sure, Dan, in your mind, he was one of the first guys that came to your mind.
Without question. I mean, he would step out, adjust the batting gloves after every pitch. His own personal routine. And one of our favorites.
Oh, yeah.
He is as classy as they come. Nice long talk with Skip the other day. He's got a 7-year-old boy, 5-year-old girl. Skip is now 35 as Cozart strikes out. What's on tap? It's the home opener for St. Louis. Matt Garza, Adam Wainwright, and our Budweiser What's on Tap. He said to me, the one thing that he remembers so much about St. Louis is how the community came together for baby Risa and the organization. He said, I'm not even a big time player. I'm just a guy hanging around, and all of a sudden community came together to raise awareness and money. As Skip fouls that pitch back. There he goes to adjust the gloves. Baby Risa is still with us, thank goodness, and that's a miracle in itself. And the Stutzmans, the family, they have a healthy baby boy.
Terrific.
Yep. Skip has been dealing with an injury, a labrum issue. He said, I don't know how pitchers can come back from that surgery. And he's had that type of surgery that many pitchers do in their shoulder.
Still working on the gloves, but in the batter's box.
And he puts it in play. Martinez off the mound and out at first. I also, just to finish the story with Skip Schumacher, I said, what was your favorite moment in St. Louis? What do you think about? What comes to mind? It could be anything. He said, well, one's obvious. You think about the World Championships. He said, but I think about when I was a visiting player with the Dodgers and I got a chance to hit in the playoffs, and I got a standing ovation during the playoffs at Busch Stadium wearing a Dodger uniform. He said that just doesn't happen anywhere else.
We saw a standing ovation for Shane Robinson in spring training when he came as a member of the Minnesota Twins, a team that he made. And Shane, of course, up and down, a lot of bench player, a lot like Skip. And even in spring training, for a guy that does not have the World Series experience in the World Championships, but yet he was a Cardinal. And I know that was meaningful to Shane.
3-0 on Billy Hamilton. You look at Carlos Martinez. He gave up the home run in the second. He also gave up a double to Billy Hamilton in the first inning, and he never left second base.
Strikeout to Joey Votto was key in that inning, and that's when we saw kind of the changeup unleashed from Martinez. He's been using it since.
Well hit into right. Hayward is back. He'll leap, and it's gone. Billy Hamilton. Even the home run trot is fast.
Well, he knew he hit it well, but if it doesn't get out, he wants to make sure he gets 3. So he was flying, and right about now he knows. He hit that to a pretty deep part of this ballpark, too.
It's 370 in the right center area. It's only 325 down the right field line. There's Votto, who's 0 for 2. He is struck out in the first and grounded out to first. There's another conversation with Molina and Martinez. He's jumping him a little bit, isn't he? Two 2-0 the count. We've seen Molina do that a time or two with Martinez. He'll go out into the mound, and you can see it's an animated conversation and a one-way conversation. 2-2.
That home run by Hamilton, nearly 400 feet.
The 2-2. Pitch count at 84 pitches for Carlos. And Votto is still alive.
You know, I guess I would say, Dan, if there's not an animated conversation going on somewhere during a game, somewhere between teammates, then I would question whether the team is competing or not.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, you got to care enough to kind of lay it out there, and it doesn't mean you're arguing necessarily or mad at somebody. You're just caring.
Martinez to Reynolds. The Reds get a home run from Billy Hamilton. Cuts into the lead. It's 3-2 St. Louis. That are available for fans to choose from. I would think number 45 will be a part of that Mount Rushmore of the Cardinals. Bob Gibson. It's still, to me, the most remarkable stat. 251 wins, 255 complete games. You will never see that again.
I think the 1.12 ERA is pretty remarkable, too.
The great Bob Gibson watches our games all the time. Our Chevy called to the pen, Tony Cingrani, the hard-throwing lefty. A lot of fastballs from this young man, and the breaking stuff has been a work in progress.
We saw him a year ago, and he could be tough the first time through a lineup. He wants to be a starter, and I think he projects long-term as a starter, although he's working out of the stretch here. And he does have kind of a slingshot kind of approach the way he throws a baseball, and maybe they're trying to iron out his mechanics a little bit to get him out of the stretch and keep him together more. But we've seen him at times very good.
Two and one on Johnny Peralta. Cardinals lead it 3-2. If you're just joining us, picking up 3 runs in the top of the 5th. Matt Carpenter, RBI single that scored 2. And Jason Hayward with a double that scored Carpenter. There's a base hit into right for Johnny Peralta. Just head to MLB.com and also Cardinals.com. MLB.com/franchise4. Brock, Dean, Gibson, Hornsby, Stan the Man, Pujols, Red, and Ozzie.
Boy, in some ways you'd like to vote for all 8 of them, wouldn't you?
Make case for all 8 of them. You ever really just broken down and looked at the numbers for Rogers Hornsby?
I have. Did it on a post-game show a year ago. Talked about some of the players, actually players from the 20s, players from the 40s that we don't talk much about, including Jim Bottomley and Rogers Hornsby. Of course, his WAR, if you project that into the modern sabermetric world, I mean, he's maybe the best player, that one of the top players in the history of this game.
Only Ty Cobb had a better career lifetime average. Hornsby, I believe, hit over 400 3 different times.
And he had power. He was an RBI guy.
Amazing stuff. What do I do during the winter? I look out the window and wait for the snow to melt. Get ready for baseball in the spring. Rogers Hornsby.
He's not the only guy that does that.
No. As Reynolds hits it out of play.
I know a lot of young Cardinal fans thinking the same thing. But fans of baseball, the long cold winter, can't wait for my Cardinals to come back to town, and that will be tomorrow.
Both these franchises with great tradition. As Reynolds bounces back to Cingrani, out at second, double play. 1-4-3 on the double play. First double play turned by either side. Some of the retired numbers, the statues that they have here at the ballpark as well. The Big Red Machine of the 70s.
You think Johnny Bench, of course Pete Rose. We walk along Pete Rose way when we come to the ballpark here.
Joe Morgan.
Love seeing Tony Perez in spring training. He works with the Marlins. We see him quite a bit. Always a smile on his face, but that was some lineup.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
There was a time where George Foster may have been the best hitter in the game of baseball. Maybe a 2 or 3 year period.
Frank Robinson spent time in Cincinnati. This ballpark opened up in 2003, replacing Synergy Field. That was their home since 1970. They've got the All-Star game this year, 5th time that Cincinnati has hosted. Crosley Field in 1938, 53. Synergy Field had it in 70 and 88. And this year, Great American Ballpark. It's taken low by Jay, 2-2. Jay. And Cingrani, a nice play. Helping his own cause a couple of times. Midway through 6, Cardinals lead it by a run. A beautiful day in Cincinnati. Game pitching into the 6th. We saw the youthful exuberance of Raisel Iglesias, the starter of Cincinnati in this game.
He actually showed pretty well, and we look at his energy that he brought when he came to the plate and to the mound. Again, very excited to be out there, and also threw some pretty nice pitches. And he was a middle reliever, as we've mentioned, in Cuba, and he pitched kind of like you'd expect for a middle reliever. Very good through the first 3 or 4. Second time through the lineup, had a little bit of trouble. The Cardinals finally got to him in the 5th.
Carlos Martinez at 87 pitches. This could be his final inning of work. He's got Frazier, Phillips, and Bruce. 3, 4, and 5 in the lineup. Todd Frazier has grounded to short and struck out back in the 3rd. They've been at times able to get him to chase with that breaking ball on the outer half.
Not a good breaking ball hitter. You just don't want to hang one.
It carries all the way to center field, and the catch is made by John Jay.
And he may have gotten away with one there. Carlos Martinez on the other side has used his changeup to perfection, getting a lot of strikeouts. The breaking ball to the right-handed hitters. He's gotten Cozart swinging twice. And there's the backdoor slider inside half to a right-hander. Good performance for Carlos, overcoming that early home run by Jay Bruce. Another solo shot by Billy Hamilton. If you give up 2 solo shots every start and that's it, you're going to win some games.
Brandon Phillips. He is flied to center and also flied out to left field.
Cardinals have both Randy Choate and Seth Maness getting loose.
We saw the velocity too with Iglesias dip a little bit as the game wore on. He was at 93 to 94, and by that final inning it was down to about 90. So maybe needs to get stretched out. 1 ball, 1 strike on Phillips. 1-2. We'll see these Reds next weekend in St. Louis. Cardinals open up home portion of the schedule tomorrow with Milwaukee.
Well, Danny, you know how I feel about velocity. It's not my favorite subject, but you either learn how to stretch it out and keep the velocity longer, or learn how to pitch at 90. And that second option to me is a better option, because you're not always going to feel good.
Held on to by Molina. Phillips strikes out. That's 7 today for Carlos Martinez. Celebrate Cardinals catcher Yadier Molina's 7 Gold Gloves and 3 Platinum Glove awards on Saturday, April 18th. His bobblehead giveaway presented by Central Bank of St. Louis. Next Saturday. Here's Jay Bruce, who homered back in the 2nd inning. And he has also walked. I think all in all, you have to be very pleased with what you've seen from Carlos Martinez. The changeup has been really good.
Curveball's been good. Fastball's been good. The control's been good. He has walked just 1 batter. That was Jay Bruce, his last plate appearance. And now he's behind him 3-0.
The Cardinals in the previous at bat, and now they'll do it here. They put the shift on. They waited till 1 strike in the last time Bruce was up, and on 3-0 they put the shift on, and he walked him. So the tying run is aboard, and Brennan Bosch will be the hitter. Bosch was robbed by Carpenter in the 2nd inning on a diving play and struck out swinging in the 4th. Outfield is deep. They're straight away. Look how the Cardinals are playing this, Rick, defensively with Matt Carpenter, left-handed bat, maybe 4 or 5 steps off the line, and then Peralta near the bag at second.
Big gap on that left side. Bosch hit one to Carpenter. His first plate appearance, kind of reached out, took a ball the other way. You know, folks may be wondering why not Randy Choate right here, and the issue with Randy Choate that I think we need to keep track of all season long is you're typically not going to bring him in to face a left-hander at the bottom of the lineup because they're just going to pinch hit for him, and he'd be facing Marlon Byrd.
Right.
So you hold Randy Choate, and that's why he's getting loose right now for somebody like Joey Votto, who's going to do more damage, and he'll stay in the game.
The 0-2. Got him with the changeup. That is 8 strikeouts in the season debut of Carlos Martinez. 2 in the inning, 8 this afternoon. Good stuff, Carlos. 3-2 as we head to the second inning of work for Tony Cingrani in relief of Iglesias, who went 5. It'll be Molina, Wong, and we would assume a pinch hitter.
100 pitches for Martinez. So perhaps the first at bat for Pete Kozma or maybe Randall Grichuk, and it may depend on the situation. What happens with Molina and Wong, which pinch hitter you use.
Molina doubled and scored back in the 5th and started the rally for St. Louis. Martinez in the rotation, and who knows if a healthy Jaime Garcia breaks north with the camp, then you've got a situation where he's probably working out of the bullpen, and maybe Carlos Villanueva is not on this team. Jaime Garcia, by the way, is throwing this week. Live BP, probably another time of live BP. He's down in Jupiter still. And then you have to look at a rehab assignment.
And do not count out Marco Gonzalez as being a big part of this team in 2015.
Agreed. Could come out of the bullpen, might be a starter. You know, we were talking about Jason Marquis the other day, and that was one of the amazing things about the 2014. Those starters did not miss a single start. Everybody made their turn in the rotation every 5th day. And a walk to Yadier Molina. That's how we start play here in the top of the 7th. There's Marquis.
Settled down nicely in his start, didn't he?
Pitched very well. Cardinals have received 3 walks, and the first issued by Cingrani. Colton Wong, a good day. Walk scored a run in the 5th and single to center. Big cut there.
I mentioned I wasn't sure who would pinch hit. Pete Kozma actually had a bat, but with the leadoff runner on, potential maybe to get some big damage. Randall Grichuk has now stepped into the on-deck circle.
Here's an 0-1 pitch. J.J. Hoover and Kevin Gregg starting to throw, 2 right-handers in the pen for Cincinnati. Very short lead at first by Molina, maybe 2 steps.
Remember the move of Cingrani from a year ago. He is right on that line, the kind of the imaginary 45-degree angle between throwing straight to first base and throwing home, kind of that halfway point. He I don't want to say he cheats, but he takes advantage of that line.
And a foul ball.
Remember years ago, Dan, they actually put the line in.
That's right. Yep.
To try to kind of curtail the left-handers.
45 degree.
Yeah. I'm going to say that was in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yes. You had an outstanding move.
I cheated a little.
Were you cheating?
No, I was taking advantage of my opportunities. Well, I did have a good move, and as I heard from many people along the way, I needed one with as many base runners as we're on. You got to have a good move. But you know, the idea was if you're gonna cheat, if you're going to do your balk move to first, if you're going to try to get right on that edge of deceiving the runner and going home and all those things you're not supposed to do it with Tim Raines on first, or do it with Billy Hamilton on first, not Yadier Molina.
And a swing and a miss by Wong, which was my next question. Why even throw over with Molina at first?
Well, if you think you can pick him off, I picked off pitchers before.
Sure.
One more out.
Plaza Tire Service, Fox Tracks. And Randall Grichuk will be the pinch hitter for Carlos Martinez. Martinez 8 strikeouts. A wild pitch, 2 walks, and he gave up a total of 4 hits. Not bad at all. This is the Gateway Honda home run inning. Cardinals player hits a home run. The Gateway Honda dealers will donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Randall Grichuk homered here the other night. His second swing of the regular season, and he put it in the seats about 430 feet away.
It was a blast, wasn't it?
Sure was. I think the bench overall this year, and it's primarily going to be a right-handed bench, but I look at this being completely different than what the Cardinals have had the last couple of seasons.
Got a combination of speed and power. Guy like Pete Kozma, you've got speed and of course Peter Borges, but with Reynolds and Grichuk, you've got the chance to be a game changer late in the game.
Absolutely.
And you'll need both. And the situation will dictate. You need a speedy guy that can score from second. You can pinch run him. You can bunt with him, different things, but you also need that power. I don't remember the last, I have to think about it, the last real power threat off the bench for the Cardinals. Not that there weren't guys that didn't play every day and had power. I'm talking about the guy that you really would say this guy's a bench player for the most part, but he can hit 15 to 20 home runs.
2-0 the count on Randall Grichuk. Two and 1 the count. Molina, the runner at first base. 2-2. Grichuk pulls it down the left field line and foul.
Grichuk has shown some vulnerability at times to off-speed pitches, but he's got a quick enough bat that you wouldn't think that should be a case for him, because he can wait back long enough and trust his hands.
On the outside corner and a strikeout of Grichuk. So back-to-back strikeouts.
I think Grichuk thought that ball was outside. We'll look at it one more time. Just off the plate, well framed by Brian Pena.
Key hit in this game was back in the 5th. Matt Carpenter. A single that brought in 2. 1 for 3 on the day. Pair of RBIs, and that ball gets through Pena. Molina trots down to second base. pass ball charge to Pena.
Almost like he got fooled with that pitch a little bit. Late reaction, even getting his glove down.
Certainly changes the complexion of this at bat. It's a big run out there. We've talked about it before. The arms of the Reds, very good in right, plus arm in center, decent in left with Bosch.
Well, it's a bullpen game right now, and I think important to point out that Chapman is probably available today.
Rosenthal got the final 5 outs in yesterday's win for St. Louis. 1 ball, 1 strike on Carpenter. Three and 1. Molina walked to start the inning. Back-to-back strikeouts and a 3-1 pitch on its way to Carpenter. Third fewest in swings and misses last year was Carpenter. Took 67% of the pitches he saw. The 3-2 taken high, and Jason Hayward will hit.
As often happens in a game, Dan, we will highlight what we expect to happen, and we go to the starting pitching. We talk about Martinez and Iglesias, and certainly key figures in this game. They both have given their team a chance to win. But when it comes down to it, this game is going to be decided by guys like Kevin Segrist, Seth Maness, maybe Jordan Walden, maybe J.J. Hoover, and Tony Cingrani on the mound. It's kind of your bullpen. And having a strong bullpen in today's baseball is extremely important.
Ball scoots away, and the runners advance to second and third. A wild pitch now charged to Cingrani. So we've seen the pass ball, the wild pitch this inning. Pair of strikeouts and 2 walks. Jason Hayward has done some damage in the first week against lefties. That has been really the big story with him. Could he hit lefties? Can he do it? Takes a healthy cut there. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Hayward could give Cingrani a bad day with 1 swing of the bat right here.
The 1-1 inside to Jason Hayward.
I don't recall Cingrani picking quite so much with the strike zone.
Agreed.
As a reliever, it almost seems as if he's feeling it and he's trying to make too perfect a pitch.
The 2-1. Hayward pops it up. Catch is made. Joe Zerhusen is the Reds' public address announcer as we stay here for the singing of God Bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask that you please stand, kindly remove your hats, and face the American flag. Major League Baseball, the Reds and the Cardinals salute the men and women of our armed forces, as well as those who serve to protect in our local police and fire departments. At this time, please help us honor these brave men and women and all our veterans of service as we welcome Casey Campbell, who will lead us in the singing of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Friday night, this is one of the great giveaways the Cardinals have. That hooded sweatshirt with the old logo there, the 1980s adult zip-up hooded sweatshirt, the vintage logo. St. Louis Cardinals baseball tradition meets today.
Looking forward to getting one of those. When do I have to come to the ballpark? April 17th.
That's Friday.
I'll be there.
Are you working?
I'm over in Ballpark Village, but I can sneak away and get a hooded sweatshirt. That's
Absolutely.
for sure.
Sometimes they'll bring stuff in for us as Brian Pena digs in, drops down a bunt and a beauty. Manus. Oh, what a play there by Mark Reynolds, and Pena is hurt.
Looks like he may have fallen on his left shoulder, stumbled over the bag. Reynolds dove to get the ball, and a base hit for Pena. Pena, really terrific bunt, but he's in some pain right now.
I'm going to take your hooded sweatshirt, Al's, Tim's.
You said us.
Yeah.
There's the bunt, perfectly executed. Manus does everything he can do to get rid of it. And there's the awkward slide, really just kind of trips over. I thought he might have hurt a leg there, but kind of lands on his shoulder and reaching out for the bag, and I'm not even sure he touched the bag when he went over it, but working hard as he could to get there. There's the start of the stumble. Then he flips over. Knee hits the bag. Ouch.
I think he got caught in between whether or not to slide or to keep going.
Yeah. Well, and it was in between the direct slide and the avoid the tag slide. Because sometimes you'll kind of slide to the inside part of the bag and kind of do that fade slide that they'll do at home plate. And I think that wasn't sure which kind of slide to do. I think you're exactly right.
I believe that's Christopher Negron is the pinch runner. It is. And now it's Zach Cozart, the 8th place hitter. Carpenter is on the line and even with the bag. A chopper, and by playing in, it goes over his glove and into left. So Manus got the ground ball, but it found a hole. Back-to-back hits to start the bottom of the 7th. We'll see where Brian Price wants to go on his bench. They've already used Schumacher. Negron is the pinch runner, and we need a hitter. Hyundai pitch arsenal recording for Seth Manus.
Throws mostly fastballs. Those are sinking fastballs. Also has a changeup and a slider. Changeup, very good pitch for him. And he is always looking for the double play. In fact, got the ground ball he wanted there. Unfortunately, it bounced over the head of Matt Carpenter. And they're going to let Cingrani hit because it's a sacrifice situation.
They were looking for him, too. You talk about looking for a double play. The Reds were trying to look for Tony Cingrani. Couldn't find him. So asked to bunt here. And there's strike one.
We always have to be thinking a couple steps ahead. What might happen if we get a couple of guys on? I'm sure Brian Price already had it in his mind that he'd let Cingrani hit and bunt in this situation. You have to think that way. It's like chess. I'm going to do this. They're going to do this. Then this is going to happen. Cingrani may have kind of figured his day was over and may not have even had his equipment ready.
There's strike two. And the complicated too is that your catcher is the one that's hurt and taken out of the game, so Mesoraco is going to have to come in. You're running out of bench players. That's another aspect of this too.
I still think it makes sense to bunt here either way. When you're in the 7th inning, down a run, get both runners across, and use a pitcher to do that. No sense using a pinch hitter to do that.
Hardest pitch to bunt, what is it?
Everybody says it's the high fastball, and I don't buy it. I think it's a hard breaking ball that a pitcher's not used to seeing.
Cingrani strikes out. Boy, that's big. And some boos here in Cincinnati.
Well, you wonder, and I'm just speculating, Dan, because I'm not in their dugout. You just wonder if he was ready for this.
Exactly. So first strikeout for Seth Maness, and it brings in Billy Hamilton. The Cardinals owning a 1-run lead. Runners at first and second. You have to think it'd be awfully tough to double up Billy Hamilton.
Thinking the same thing. Mr. Double Play and Mr. Impossible to hit into a double play.
Randy Choate and Belial getting loose in the pen. Hamilton homered back in the 5th. He has doubled and also struck out. The exact situation that you talked about earlier could unfold here in a moment with Randy Choate facing Joey Votto.
Why we didn't use Randy Choate in the last inning, why Mike Matheny chose to kind of hold him out, not have him pitch to Bosch. You're exactly right.
The 1-1. Big pitch in the game is right here. 2 balls, 1 strike. Hamilton has already had a good day. Two and two.
Maness, very good control in his career.
Tapped out in front of the plate. Molina to first. 2 outs, and there's runners at second and third. Joey Votto will step to the plate.
The other option,
walk him, keep him in, face Frazier, or bring somebody else to bring in to face Frazier.
I believe I'd rather have Seth Maness pitching to Todd Frazier, but I think Mike Matheny is going to go the other way around, which means he's going to need perhaps a couple of pitchers in this inning.
And he's going to go with the lefty. Votto against Choate Friday night, single to right. So that's it for Seth Maness. Randy Choate in our Chevy call to the bullpen will face Joey Votto with the game on the line. 1-run lead for St. Louis. Choate, Votto coming up. 3-2. Bottom of the 7th. 2 outs, runners at second and third. Randy Choate in to face one of the game's best hitters, Joey Votto. And that's the Hyundai pitch arsenal last year for Choate.
Very, very tough on left-handers, but Votto tough on everybody. Danny, you and I are talking about it. If it's the bottom of the 7th inning in the 7th game of the World Series, maybe you have Manus pitch to Frazier. First week in the season, maybe you just let this one ride and see what happens.
0-1.
And I do think that it is totally in a fan and a viewer and a fan here at the ballpark's prerogative to just kind of question moves and think about things, and the manager's always going to know more than we do about the specifics. But I think that's the fun part of the game.
Inside. 2 balls, 1 strike.
So debate with your friends. What would you do? Choate and Votto or Manus and Frazier?
Or another righty in Frazier.
Another option.
The 2-1 pitch. 3-1.
Every decision is not made in a vacuum. There are a number of variables that go into it. Last week, next week. A lot of different managerial objectives for his team.
3-1 pitch taken for a strike. It's now 3-2. What has surprised me a little bit in this at bat, we haven't seen the slider all that much.
No. Well, the other thing that Choate will do is he'll bury that fastball in on the hands of a left-hander, and that's as effective as a slider away. Votto actually hit a slider away against Choate last time and hooked it into right.
3-2 on Joey Votto. Here it comes. There was the slider, and he stayed away. That'll be it for Randy Choate. Bases loaded for Cincinnati. The Chevy called to the pen. Matt Belisle, former Red. In his career against Matt Belisle. And when Matt was here, he was a starter. Bases loaded. Frazier at the plate. First pitch by Belisle. Inning started with a bunt by Brian Pena. Then Cozart, a chopper that found its way into left. The first 2 had reached. Cingrani tried to bunt, struck out. Hamilton grounded out. A walk to Votto. And an 0-1 pitch. Broken bat. Right field, and it drops. 2 runs will score.
Frazier has had a lot of big hits as a Red, begging for that ball to drop, then celebrating. Broken bat, didn't get all of it, but got the results.
Here's Phillips.
Unlucky inning in some ways for the Cardinals.
Phillips 0 for 3. Fly to center, fly to left, and struck out in the 6th.
The Cozart ground ball over the head of Matt Carpenter just kind of an indication of what kind of inning this has been.
Iglesias is off the hook, the starter for the Reds. Oh, 1 pitch. Left field. That's a base hit. Throw by Holiday. Not in time. And Phillips winds up at second base.
We said this would be a game for the bullpen, and right now the Reds bullpen is winning. There's Votto scoring from second. The throw not cut off by Carpenter. The base hit by Brandon Phillips. And Mike Matheny is going to go to his pen one more time.
Going into the Frazier at bat, the Reds have been 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Swing and a miss. Bruce's homer, that was in the second, and a pair of walks. This crowd has come alive. Another big crowd on this Sunday afternoon. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Important for the Cardinals not to overreact here. Realize you're down 2 runs. It's not going to be easy, but you've got to save those 2 runners out there. And they may not seem important right now, but they're going to seem important in the 9th inning. And again, maybe Aroldis Chapman lurking today. The Reds could conceivably have given him 2 days off too. That's a possibility, with having thrown in the first 4 games of the season for them, but I would suspect he'll be out there.
One and 2 the count.
Segrist, we mentioned it a lot, Dan, in spring training, and I think the Cardinals personnel feel the same way about this. He's an important part of this team.
No doubt. Huge. As you talked about earlier, Randy Choate is used for guys like Votto or Bruce, and sometimes it's that one-man appearance where Segrist, then a lot of pressure falls on his shoulders.
Yeah. Very close pitch right there. Segrist wanted that. Molina wanted it. And that's why they didn't get it.
Now 3 and 2. And he got him. Big inning though for Cincinnati as they pick up 3 and pick up the lead. 5-3 Reds. Studio and a Bomberito Sports Update. We'll see the Brewers tomorrow for the home opener as Jumbo Diaz, our Chevy, called to the pen. And Jumbo takes over his 4th appearance. And after the implosion by Kevin Gregg in Game 1 for the Reds against Pittsburgh, as their 8th inning guy, Jumbo Diaz now has moved into that role. That was a quick turn of events.
We talked about importance of Kevin Segrist to the Cardinals bullpen. I think Diaz is that for Cincinnati. You know what you're going to get in the 9th inning, but the 8th inning has become in baseball a critical role. We saw the Royals a year ago do it with a 7th, 8th, 9th inning guys that could just be lights out and end the game if you could get that lead in the 7th inning. Diaz becomes the guy they think he could be, and we saw a good Hoover in this series too. Between those two guys, somebody has to emerge as their stopper in the 8th.
Here's a 1-0 to Holiday. Base hit into right, and the tying run will come to the plate. Holiday is 1 for 4.
That strikeout of Jay Bruce in the 7th inning could be a big part of this game. Segrist coming in to get Bruce. It allows the situation to be with a base hit. All of a sudden, the tying run's at the plate again.
Johnny Peralta. Peralta may have tied it with a high fly ball out to left. Did he do it? Yes, sir. Tied up 5-5. A year ago, his first of this campaign, and it ties it up at 5-5.
Baseball can turn on a dime, can it?
Wow. So what were you saying about the importance of Segrist and that strikeout? Big. Now it's Reynolds.
Brand new game. And this now, Dan, the Cardinals' biggest offensive output of the season so far. And the home run by Peralta makes that happen. 2-run shot to left. He knew it right when he hit it. And this guy at the plate has the capability, to be sure, of going back to back.
Struck out in the 2nd. Doubled down the left field line for his first Cardinal hit and bounced into a double play. .368 feet, the distance of the home run for Johnny Peralta. Three and two, the count on Reynolds. John Jay on deck. And he draws a walk. So Jumbo Diaz has come in, allowed a single to Holiday, home run by Peralta, and now a walk.
I love it when we can pick up kind of the background excitement that comes from the Cardinals dugout and the guys rooting their teammates on and the voices from the dugout. You know the voice I can always pick out? Cardinal third base coach Jose Oquendo. Always hearing his voice. Of course, he's working right now down the third base line, but offensively, he is a part of not just coaching third base, but he's really a motivator on this team.
The ball gets away because it hits Jay. So John Jay hit for the second time in this series, and the go-ahead run is now at second base. This crowd moments ago, it was electric, and now it's become uncomfortable.
Brian Price is saying that, I think he's saying that he doesn't believe John Jay tried very hard to get out of the way of that. And he's having a little mild protest right now, and maybe he's actually having him look at that to see what he thinks about it. And I don't believe that is reviewable anyway.
It is not.
But I think the argument is John Jay's not moving. He didn't do it yesterday. In fact, he allowed the ball to hit him. I think the better bet for Price is to say, ask somebody else. See if somebody else could maybe saw something different. But I think his contention is that John Jay did not make a normal effort to get out of the way of the ball. We saw it here yesterday with John Jay. And what happens here? The ball coming at him? Well, I'm not so sure that would be in the same boat as what we saw yesterday. John actually pushed his knee into the ball yesterday. He got hit a number of times a year ago and has gotten good at that. And I'm not sure Price has an argument this time. I think that ball was headed towards his back foot. May have been slow getting it out of the way, but I don't think he intentionally had that ball hit him in the foot.
So 20 times last year, already twice the first week of this season. Jumbo Diaz just standing on the mound and waiting for this argument to finish up. You may recall the story with Jumbo Diaz, long road to the major leagues, 12 seasons, 340 games pitched in the minor leagues. And he dropped 70 pounds prior to last season and then eventually got the call to Cincinnati.
I'm not sure if Price is really that sure about what he's saying in this argument, or if he's just trying to give J.J. Hoover a chance to get loose, or a little bit of both.
A little gamesmanship.
I honestly feel that Brian Price would have had a better argument for this yesterday than he has today.
Well, at some point, they got to break it up and say, let's go. Yesterday, I've had a lot of fans tweet at me wondering about the fan that was hit. And we had a long delay. That fan apparently is okay. And now Brian Price has been tossed by the crew chief, Joe West.
Well, Joe was trying to tell Brian Price that, okay, you said your say, go sit down. And he wouldn't go, and Joe tossed him.
Peter Borges will pinch run for Mark Reynolds as he checks in the game. Cardinals could move Adams from the bench to first base. So Borges is your pinch runner at second base. Still nobody out. And runners at first and second for St. Louis. The hitter will be Yadier Molina.
You're going to stay with Jumbo Diaz.
Interesting. First pitch to Yadier Molina. Showing bunt. Throw to second, and Borges is safe. And the Reds may review this. Zach Cozart initially motioning to the dugout to tell them to review it, but he looks to be clearly safe. But did he come off the bag when he was going into second?
Didn't look like he did to me.
First pitch was a ball. Molina bunts it. He's tagged. That's no force, though, at third. What would be the play here? Force to third, and then they got him at first. Okay. They're telling Borges to go back to third base. Now Joe West says, no, indeed, you're out.
Borges is going to go back anyway and see if that play stands. Now the Cardinals, we got a lot of people that are saying, I want to look at every play now. I mean, this is kind of a focus on replay here this inning. Cardinals may believe that Frazier came off the bag early on that play at third. So they're not sure Borges is out. So Matheny's out arguing with Kerwin Danley now.
Regardless, a missed opportunity now for St. Louis.
And he also may have been questioning whether this ball is fair or not. Danley says it's fair. There's the throw to third. Looked to be out at third. Boy, a lot of close plays in this inning.
The Cardinals are going to have this review. And I think the question is whether or not Molina was tagged initially.
Well, that would have made it not a force at third, which is where you were going initially. That ball right in front of the plate. Now, the plate's actually in fair territory, so I don't know if they're arguing whether it was fair or not. But you may be absolutely right, Dan, that the Cardinals are wondering whether or not Molina is actually tagged by Mesoraco. He's got the ball. Can't really tell whether he did that, whether he tagged Molina or not. But he's going to ask for a review of this play either way. Now, as I understand it, they can look for whatever they want to look for in this particular play. Whatever they find.
Mike Matheny is watching the review on the video board here at the ballpark.
Clearly from down on the field, they saw something different, and maybe it's this angle.
Well, here was my point. If he's tagged there.
And maybe he was. If he's tagged there, that now becomes, and that's what the Cardinals saw from the dugout.
Right.
They saw Molina being tagged in the leg. So now he's out. Runners advance at their own risk. It's no longer a force at either third or second. And so that continuation play becomes no longer a force. I think the easiest thing to do is to just ask Yachty and ask Mesoraco. Think you'd get a straight answer?
Oh, absolutely.
Interesting that Yachty kept running. So either he didn't feel himself being tagged or just kept running for no reason. You wonder whether
that was my initial point, even when I initially called it.
Right.
You know, there's a tag, so that takes the force away at third. He'd have to tag him. The other question I want to ask you about is Molina bunting in that situation.
8th inning tie game, first and second. I'm okay with that. They could keep out of the double play, presumably, although that's what we may have.
Right, right.
I guess we could have a lot of things after they're done conferring. It's been an eventful inning, Dan.
Sure has.
And a long review, it feels like.
And a long argument there with Brian Price. Now a long review.
It's interesting that the manager doesn't have to go out anymore, but at some point, doesn't Mike Matheny have to come out and explain what he thinks he saw so they can clarify that discussion with New York?
Yes.
So staying in the dugout, I'm not sure that's going to work very, very well, frankly. We'll see. But I can see that the manager is going to want to influence by the way he even says what he saw. That's causing him to challenge the play.
Frustrating from our perspective last year is that many times we would see them go to replay and they actually were looking at something completely different than what we thought.
And the fans at the ballpark.
Exactly.
There's
so
the bunt.
Again.
It is in fact fair. He picks it up. Boy, looks like he tagged him to me.
I think that Major League Baseball at some point will have to put a microphone on an umpire and say the play is being reviewed and this is what we're looking at. I really do. I think it'd be beneficial to the fans. It'd be beneficial to us.
Dan, I talked about that last year with the fans at the ballpark. They could do it through the PA announcer. Put it on the board.
Sure.
Put the written expectation or written discussion on the board. What we're seeing here at Great American Ballpark, what the fans are seeing is the previous play is under review. And that tells these fans nothing. Now, we've got the benefit of hearing some of the information through the truck and through the PA system ourselves up here through
the press
box. But the fans here don't have that.
Right.
And that, it's their experience here today. And they're thinking, oh, I saw he was out at third. Come on. How can you be reviewing that? But they may not even understand what
that's
this
my
whole
point.
discussion is about.
Right. So what you would have then is second and third if this is overturned and one out. Wow. So who's the new manager? Brian Price has already been ejected in this game.
This is Jay Bell, the bench coach. And Jay Bell's going to want an explanation now. And that is a big break for the Cardinals and a well-used challenge. And the new rule is that you win a challenge, you still keep it. Wow, that could be a big play.
The hitter will be Colton Wong. So there's the tag, meaning then that Frazier would have to apply the tag to Borges.
And again, bewildered 40,000 people here at the ballpark that have no idea that's what the replay was all about. Looks like Jay Bell's a little bewildered himself.
Jumbo Diaz just standing out there. Now they have three lefties in their pen. One of them being their closer. They've got Manny Parra, and you wonder if Parra would be available for one or two. If he is, this is the time to do it. You've got Colton Wong and you've got Matt Adams on deck.
And bench is getting thinner. So replay was supposed to stop long, protracted conversations on the field. And, well,
so what are you saying here, Rick?
Well, I'm just throwing it out there.
Right now, we are entering 5+ minutes from that play.
Diaz still standing on the mound. I tell you, if you're Jay Bell, forced into managing this game, this is why you better be ready as a bench coach. A lot of stuff happening quickly here in this inning.
Now it's Wong. Popped up. After all that, Wong pops up to short.
A big miss right here for the Cardinals in the 8th inning. They've been working Colton Wong up in the strike zone, and again, he doesn't get on top of it, pops it up. Now it's going to be up to Matt Adams.
Well, things that happen quickly, and maybe part of that is not having your lefty ready. Matt Adams. Then a Carpenter on deck.
Well, in those 5 minutes, I got to believe that they didn't want him to be ready.
That pitch taken high. Matt Adams coming off the bench. The Cardinals on their bench left to the backup catcher Easley and Cosma. Runners at second and third. 8 hits aside on a 5-5 game. Matt with a home run yesterday and 2 hits. Here's a 1-1. Popped up. Peralta has tied the game up at 5. Still brewed the hard way, this Bud's for you. And play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com with the official daily fantasy partner of MLB. Enter promo code CARDS for free entry. The Cardinals do have a long man, if you want to call him that, Carlos Villanueva. We may see him before this game is through. Cardinals have used Martinez, Manus, Choate, Belisle, Segrist, and now Jordan Walden in our Chevy call to the pen.
Walden has very, very good stuff. Former closer. Matt Adams staying in the game to play first base. So Walden will hit in Mark Reynolds' spot. That's the 5th spot in the order. Cardinals do a double switch there. Actually just keep Adams in the game. But the Reds and Cardinals both really working through their relievers and their bench.
This is Chris Dominguez, the pinch hitter. So Dominguez, Negron, and Cozart in the home half of the 8th. Only position player available for the Reds is Marlon Byrd.
They've only used 2 relievers because they just left Cingrani in for a couple of innings and Diaz to get out of his own jam. So they're a little less tight as far as relievers are concerned.
Cardinals have Rosenthal available and Villanueva. That's it. Carved him up. Strikeout of Dominguez. So a good start for Jordan Walden. Roldis Chapman is throwing in the Reds bullpen. Jordan Walden, an eventful 8th inning on Friday night. 1-out base hit for Negron. Here's Zach Cozart. All told today, Cardinals pitching has struck out the Reds 11 times. 8 of those from Carlos Martinez.
Reds also have 9 hits and a couple of home runs to go along with those strikeouts. And one of the big hits we talked about it was Zach Cozart's hit off of Seth Manus in the 7th inning. It was a little bouncer over the head of Matt Carpenter, which just kind of started the crazy baseball that we felt not only that inning but the top half of the inning when the Cardinals bounced back and got 2 of their own.
Here's an 0-1 instead of check on Negron.
Dan, you think about all the discussions that inning. The John Jay getting hit by a pitch. Did he try to get out of the way or not? And you've got the play with Molina. Was he tagged or not? It's overturned in the Cardinals' favor. Just a lot of interesting things happening.
Christopher Negron at first base had 34 steals one year in the minor leagues. Here's an 0-2. He's picked off. Adams with the tag. No. Somehow he avoided that tag. No argument from Matt Adams.
Should have been out. The ball beat him there. Yadi's so good at picking runners off of first. Matt, I don't think realized how much time he had, and he just kind of did a swipe tag and missed him, apparently. There's the ball and the swipe tag, and he misses him, kind of pulls his arm back in, and then reaches for the bag.
It's an unbelievable slide to avoid that tag. The 1-2. Broken bat and a base hit into right. Hayward. They're going to run on him. The missed tag.
Wow, that's huge right now.
Looms large.
You bet it does. There's the weapon of Hayward. You're not going to run on him. Even though Negron has very good speed, Hayward has the reputation. Now it's Mesoraco, who came on when Brian Pena had a bunt base hit off of Seth Maness and stumbled at first base and got hurt.
Been a tough start for Devin Mesoraco. He's hitting an even 100. All 4 wins this year for the Reds have come in their final at bat. That had not been done to win the first 4 games like that since the early 1900s. Fly ball out to left, and the catch is made by Holiday. I realize the reputation of Jason Hayward, and I've seen it now with a very good arm. But if you're Negron, don't you have to take that chance first to third on a bloop?
Well, you don't want to make an out there. I mean, you better be safe if you're gonna take that chance. The Reds got a new life by him not being picked off in the first place, and I'm not sure he read that base hit to right off the bat very well. I don't think he got a very good jump, and I think he'd have been out.
Billy Hamilton, top of the lineup. This is the 3rd time that Walden has seen Billy Hamilton. Friday night, he walked him. That turned out to be the winning run for Cincinnati. Yesterday, he struck him out. Hamilton with a double and a home run. 2 for 4 today.
Walden throws hard, doesn't he? 95 miles an hour.
The Cardinals have the top of the lineup looking ahead to the 9th. Blew it right by him, and a strikeout of Billy Hamilton. This game stays tied 5-5. Matt Carpenter leads it off when we come back. Crowd excited because of Aroldis Chapman. Carpenter, Hayward, Holiday due up. And Chapman against St. Louis. .56 ERA last year. The whip. See what he did, though? He's just gotten better and better as the years have gone on.
Walks plus hits per innings pitched. And that means he doesn't give up very many of either. I remember he had a game in St. Louis where he couldn't find the strike zone against the Cardinals. Remember that?
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago. And I haven't seen him like that since.
He had one game like that last year, and it was game 1 of a doubleheader in Colorado. Walked 4 straight, just couldn't find the strike zone. One ball, 1 strike. Good work by Jordan Walden to make sure this game stayed tied. Carpenter's been on base twice. A single, 2 RBIs. That was in the 5th, and walked in the 7th.
Well, the way managers play the game now, when you get to the 9th inning, they just believe that you're going to have to beat our closer in the 9th. And if we have to go extra innings, we'll figure out another way to handle this. But they're going to use their closer. Rosenthal getting loose for the Cardinals. If the closers do their job, we'll play extras.
Carpenter out in front and pops it up a mile high. Jason Hayward, a double, RBI in the 5th. Chapman has been busy. Pitched in every game they played in except yesterday.
The key there is he kept his pitch counts low, though. 15 max. You have a game as a closer where you go 20+ pitches. Now you're jeopardizing your ability to bounce back quickly.
What makes this guy so good, it's the velocity, and that's obvious when he's throwing triple digits, but his slider is nasty.
Well, he clearly has a lot of times where his thought process is, which way do I want to strike you out? Not how do I, I mean, which way?
The 1-2. 2-2. Chapman can't believe it.
I think Hayward would say that that sounded outside.
Didn't see it, huh? Shallow center. Hamilton. 2 down. Here's Holiday. He struck out looking on a 101-mile-an-hour fastball from Chapman on Friday night. Two outs, nobody on. Peralta on deck. He tied the game up in the 8th with a 2-run homer. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, Votto, Frazier, and Phillips. The 2-0. Good cut.
Such a difference going into a 9th inning with a tie score against Chapman, isn't it? Instead of knowing that he can have a chance to close it out, you just feel like you just have to weather the Chapman storm.
Yeah.
And then, you know, your other guys beat their other guys. It kind of neutralizes his ability a little bit, as long as, again, Rosenthal does his job against the tough part of the Reds order.
2-2. You know, Mesoraco, we talked about this the other day, has dealt with some concussion issues. Right. Watch this pitch.
He just gets smoked right there. Oh, my.
The 2-2.
I'm still rooting for Easley to get the game winner.
Wouldn't that be something? All these years in the minor leagues, gets the call up. Three and 2, the count on Holiday. pitch in triple digits, 100 miles an hour. The 3-2 again. And he walked him. Good at bat by Matt Holliday. Extends the inning to Johnny Peralta.
I have to give Chapman some credit in his career. He's kind of toned down the kind of just try to spin the gun thought. Of course, he's doing some things that very few people in baseball can do when you get to triple digits. But I think his command and his control have really increased over the last couple years. It's made him a lot more valuable.
Slider has always been good, but not quite at this level either.
Agreed.
Johnny Peralta tied this game up after Holliday had singled off of Jumbo Diaz in the 8th. And Peralta is first of the season, a 2-run homer. We're tied up 5-5. Pete Kozma has moved to the on-deck circle. That's the spot in the order held by Jordan Walden. Peralta with a fly ball. Right field, at the track, at the wall, and it's caught. Votto, Frazier, Phillips, that trio and what they've done against the Cardinals closer.
Rosenthal looked very good in spring training, simplified his delivery, working out of the stretch, and has no margin for error here. And this is the guy you worry about most, Joey Votto.
See Votto take a cut like that very often, do you? He's 0 for 3 with a walk and a strikeout. Rosenthal is our Chevy call to the pen.
Come on.
2 balls and 1 strike. Seen Rosenthal, a lot of changeups.
4 straight changeups, I think.
A 3-1 pitch. Breaking ball, and he walked him.
Cardinals bullpen, Dan, has really been a strong point of this team up until today. First 4 games, 9 2/3 innings, just 1 hit among all the relievers, 4 walks, but today giving up 6 hits and 3 runs in relief of Carlos Martinez.
Votto the runner at first. And a ball low outside to Todd Frazier. Frazier, a key hit in this game, a single against Matt Belisle in the 7th that scored 2. 2 balls and no strikes. Now Molina wants to call time. Sometimes you see that with Rosenthal, that breaking ball. They'll just overthrow it a little bit.
Yeah, breaking ball is clearly the pitch to Todd Frazier, but Rosenthal's best pitch, I think we all know, is his fastball, which he throws in the high 90s. He just hadn't thrown very many yet. So he's trying to kind of get the advantage by going against the weakness of the hitter instead of going to his own strength. He's going to have to mix in some fastballs at some point. Can't continue to work from behind.
The 2-0 pitch. 3-0. Outfield is deep straight away. Carpenter near the line at third. 3 balls, no strikes. Brandon Phillips is on deck. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. A slow walk by Mike Matheny. First 2 have reached via the walk.
Interesting that Mike Matheny's having this conversation and not Derek Lilliquist, the pitching coach. So Mike wants to get his message straight to Rosenthal and maybe even the rest of the infield about how they're going to defend Brandon Phillips here. You would guess he would be bunting to get the runner to the third base with just 1 out. And at this point, the Cardinals just hoping for an out somehow, some way. Brandon Phillips, how selective will he be after 2 straight walks, even though he's in a bunting situation?
Nowhere close for ball 1. See how the Cardinals defensively want to play this too. Charge with Adams, keep Carpenter at the bag at third, try to get the lead man. Votto can get a bigger lead if he wants.
Well, I'd think twice about bunting this pitch if I was Brandon Phillips. You might want to take a strike.
Bunts it in the air and into the seats.
That's 2-0. If he doesn't bunt at it, that ball's out of the strike zone, I think.
Cardinals middle infielders trying to keep Votto close, and the one that's doing it now is Wong. But Votto could have had a huge lead at second base. Now Wong keeps an eye on him.
Yeah, you're better off just giving that right side of the infield, and if Phillips can get a base hit there, tip your cap to him.
A 1-1. 2 strikes.
Rosenthal did something there, Dan, that always frustrates me when I see a pitcher looking at second base when he begins his windup home. He kept his look at second, and his body was going home, and he turned his head while he was delivering the pitch to the plate. And you got to pick up the target quicker than that, and just trust that your team is keeping the runner close there.
May 1st of 2014, the last sack bunt. Phillips swinging and struck out.
What would taking a strike have done for the Reds on that 1-0 pitch?
Sure.
The stress would have only been magnified for Trevor Rosenthal if it went to 2-0.
Now Jay Bruce. Pair of walks, a home run, and a strikeout. At the time, he said what a key strikeout that was for Kevin Segrist, and it was. It was runners at second and third in the 7th, and Segrist struck out Bruce to end the threat. Kept it a 2-run lead. Then Peralta tied it up with a 2-run homer. The 1-0 pitch. Marlon Byrd is moved to the on-deck circle. The last available position player for the Reds. In the air, left center. Jay wants it, has it, 2 down. So Marlon Byrd will be the pinch hitter.
Last man standing on the Reds bench. Plenty of relievers left. But if the Cardinals get through Byrd here, maybe the advantage swings back St. Louis's way.
You're talking about the breaking ball with Frazier. Same thing here with Marlon Byrd. Middle outer half breaking balls many times will get him. Fastballs, you can turn those around. Let's see how Rosenthal approaches it. There's a fastball. Strike one and 98 miles an hour.
Wow.
0-2.
Both closers throwing 99 in the ninth. Fun, isn't it?
It is. No balls, 2 strikes. Wow. Old-fashioned hardball. Triple digits. The last pitch there from Rosenthal. Extra innings coming up. It's 5-5. Our Chevy called to the pen. It's been a rough start this year for Kevin Gray.
He's had a lot of experience late in games. He's had a number of years of over 20 saves. He topped out with 37 saves when he was with Toronto in 2010, but he just, we mentioned the other night, we thought his fastball was good but fairly straight when we saw him as a good breaking ball. And you mentioned not off to a very good start this year, and an opportunity for the Cardinals. And we're going to see Pete Kozma for the first time.
Ed Easley is the last position player for the Cardinals.
Getting closer and closer to his game-winning hit.
So Pete Kozma leads it off. John Jay to follow. First pitch and a fly ball into center. Billy Hamilton, 1 away. By the way, the Cardinals struck out the Reds in the 9 innings so far 13 times. Reds have struck out. Jay twice is flied out to left. Bounced back to the pitcher and was hit by a pitch in the 8th. 2 pitches. 2 outs.
Danny, I didn't notice if the managers conferred after the 9th inning to decide whether or not they wanted to play a 10th. Or do you not do that during
only spring training?
Oh, okay.
Only spring training.
Just when I got used to that.
Sometimes it's a welcome sight. Here's Yadier Molina.
There are no ties. I love it. We'll play all night long.
Did you see the Red Sox and the Yankees did that the other night?
They did just that. You bet.
0-2 on Molina.
Well, we're talking about their benches quite a bit, because normally you see the benches getting down to the who's left when you get to the 12th inning, but we're already there in the 9th inning. There's only 2 players that haven't played for the Cardinals and only 3 that haven't played for the Reds, and they're all pitchers.
Good outing thus far for Kevin Gray. 1, 2, 3 inning. 5-5. A 5-5 game as we move to the bottom of the 10th. He is the last available pitcher for St. Louis. And it's interesting that we say that. It's our Chevy call to the pen, as you talked about. This is only the 10th inning, and the Reds are out of position players, and the Cardinals are down to 1 position player and no more relievers.
Well, Villanueva is going to go as long as he can go, and then Ed Easley will come in and relieve it.
Would that be something? Ed Easley spends his entire life as a catcher, gets called up the first time he comes into a game, he's pitching.
Gets a win in extra innings.
That's baseball, though, isn't it?
It sure is. we're going to get to know Villanueva as the season progresses, but you talk to his teammates about him, and they have great respect for him. Very, very sharp guy. He's one of the lead players in the Players Association.
Serves on the executive council.
Yeah, he's National League rep and executive council, and very, very sharp.
Negron is the hitter, then Cozart and Mesoraco. Two balls and no strikes. Eighth inning single for Negron. Reds have stranded 10 in this game. The Cardinals have left 8 on base.
Dan, we've had some great games in the early going here. A lot of close. Every game's been close, interesting. Kind of a couple of swings to it, and this one may be long from over.
Three balls, one strike. Outfield is straight away. Next by Villanueva. Carlos has spent the majority of his career in the Central Division. Oakland, Chicago, or rather Milwaukee and Chicago. Now St. Louis. Time is called. And it's Villanueva. Some pronounce it Villanueva, and he said, no, Villanueva is the way that you pronounce his last name. And a leadoff walk.
I'm going to say it Beltran. Is that all right?
Anyway works. So again, a leadoff walk, late innings. Cozart is a very good bunter. Red shortstop is 2 for 2. 2 singles, a run scored, 2 strikeouts. Brian Price, the manager, ejected in this game. A 1-0 pitch. Cozart. And they're going to say that is a foul ball. Kerwin Danley has had a tough job today, hasn't he?
A lot of close calls, you bet. And a lot of them have centered right around what happens at home plate. Bunt. John Jay was hit by a pitch. The Reds didn't like that. They didn't think he tried to get out of the way. Yachty thinks that ball's fair. You know, the line's kind of been smudged a bit, the first baseline, so hard call to make anyway. A little guesswork in there.
1 ball and 1 strike. The next to Cozart. Gets the bunt down. Villanueva to first base. Adams is there. And the winning run in scoring position.
Let's see the proper bunting form. Knees go down. The bat head doesn't drop.
Devin Mesoraco came up with 2 on in the 8th and flied out to left.
You'd really like to not have to face Joey Votto in this inning.
Hamilton on deck and then Votto. Mesoraco facing Villanueva. The first pitch taken inside. The 1-0 pitch. And it hit him. Billy Hamilton. One way to look at that is a hit by pitch sets up a force at third, second, first base. However, you wouldn't anticipate a double play off the bat of Hamilton. Surely not if it's on the ground, and that means Joey Votto hits.
Right, exactly.
It floats in for a ball.
Villanueva has been a reliever and a starter. His numbers have been better as a reliever in his career.
Here's a 1-0. 2 balls, no strikes. And Molina wants a new baseball. Hamilton doubled back in the first. He struck out in the third. Solo home run in the fifth. Bounced one in front of the plate in the seventh. Molina threw him out and then struck out in the eighth.
That was a great shot of Yachty talking with Villanueva, and you could just see his eyes. He was focused on him. I mean, he wasn't just kind of out there talking. He was looking him in the eye and trying to just kind of give him some confidence and give him some direction. And I think I'm guessing that he was saying, don't worry so much about the runner. I want your focus here, and let's get a strike here. He may have seen maybe a lack of focus at the plate.
Two balls, one strike. Hitting lane left side if Hamilton slaps it that way. Peralta trying to keep the runner close. Carpenter playing in. Good pitch in on his hands, and it's 2-2.
Projecting ahead, if he gets out Hamilton, I'd have half a mind to walk Joey Votto.
Yeah.
And that's about all I have is half a mind, so I'd walk him.
Here's a 2-2.
You're supposed to argue.
%, Mike. I wouldn't even give you the half. Three and two runners on. Only run that matters is out at second base. The next to Hamilton. Pulled foul.
Hamilton at times vulnerable to the curveball. It's no secret. Does he get one here?
3-2 pitch from Carlos Villanueva. On the outside corner, and he struck him out.
Tries to paint that outside corner and got a little extra.
Seven for 20 against Villanueva. Votto could win it potentially with a base hit. Votto says time and again, situation will not dictate whether or not he chases pitches that are borderline. He won't do it. does he even see a pitch to hit in this at bat?
Well, the Cardinals aren't walking him, but they are being very careful with him, as they should be.
The 2-0 pitch. 3-0. The shadows now becoming a factor. The batter's box. A 3-0 pitch. And he walked him.
Yachty set up about a foot outside. And that was the unintentional walk.
Reds have struck out 14 times in this game. However, they've received 7 walks. Bases loaded for Todd Frazier.
5 of those walks have come from the 7th inning on.
Frazier had the RBI that put the Reds in front on Friday night. First pitch to Todd Frazier. He's grounded out to short. He's struck out. Fly to center. A single that scored 2 and walked.
And Dan, one of the reasons I would have been tempted to walk Votto anyway is the breaking ball of Villanueva versus the breaking ball vulnerability. Very good hitter, Todd Frazier.
0-1 pitch. Now 0-2. The 0-2 pitch way outside. 1-2 on the All-Star Todd Frazier. On 1-2. Frazier pulls it foul.
Yachty did not like that location and is out to talk to Villanueva. Again, focusing him on this, just one more pitch. We need one more good pitch here. We'll go another inning and see what happens. And I can tell you the Reds, as a fan base and as a team, are tired of getting beaten up by the Cardinals.
One-two pitch again. On its way. Got him. Villanueva. A strikeout of Frazier. Down goes Frazier. The appearances, the pennants, the World Series titles. Rick mentioned earlier how Reds collectively, fan base, some of the players frustrated with St. Louis. Well, there's why. It's a lot of winning done by the St. Louis Cardinals. So Colton Wong will lead it off. We are in the 11th. Cincinnati has out hit the Cardinals 10-8. Reds have stranded 13. The Cardinals have stranded 8. Wong, Adams, and Carpenter. Second inning of work for Kevin Gregg, and it was a quick 5-pitch first inning of work for the right-hander. Outfield is straight away, and Wong fouls it back. One of the best opportunities in this game. The Cardinals had it in the 8th. Runners at second and third, only one out, and Colton Wong popped out to short, and Adams then would pop out to end the inning. The threat was through. Here's the 0-2. And Wong pulls it foul. Cincinnati will head to Chicago and begins a long road trip for them. 3 night games at Wrigley, then an off day. They'll be in St. Louis next Friday and finish up with 4 at Milwaukee. Cardinals go home. The opener against the Brewers tomorrow, then an off day Tuesday, finish up the series, and then welcome the Reds to town. Tradition for so many years to open up the season here in Cincinnati. Now with the Sunday night game, that's changed that tradition. Reds do open up at home, but they usually were the first game out of the chute. Here's a 1-2.
I always enjoyed that, knowing that that's when baseball was going to start. It was going to start, and since just part of the deal.
Right. Two balls, 2 strikes on Colton Wong. Wong with a base hit into right. On base for the 3rd time. Let's see if the Cardinals want to do a little running here.
Where have we said all series they've been trying to pitch Colton Wong? Up. And he's been having a hard time getting on top of it, but he got on top of that one and smacked it into right.
Matt Adams. Matt has had some late heroics against these Cincinnati Reds. Could he do it here? Wong is running, and the pitch is popped up. Center field. Billy Hamilton is there. Wong back to the bag at first.
I think he had that base stolen, had a very good jump, and Matt Adams may have been a hit and run. Chased the pitch out of the zone a little bit, and maybe a little over anxious on that pitch. Didn't seem like a pitch he could handle, and I think Wong would have had another steal on that graphic had he taken it.
And Carpenter trying to bunt.
You know, that's the great thing about this game, Dan, playing this game. I mean, all those things I just said, Matt Adams had no time to think about. I mean, he's at the plate. Ball's coming in 90 miles an hour. I have 0.45 seconds to swing. I'm judging at the corner of my eye what kind of jump a guy. I mean, you just have to react to what you see. It's really a game of very quick reflexes, quick reactions, and then adjustments.
Colton Wong is a threat to steal. And an 0-1 pitch.
I'd like to see him try it here.
Carpenter, even if he would take the pitch, does not mind hitting with 2 strikes. I mean, that's another part of this that you could think about too. Give Wong a chance. He's not running, and the pitch is taken for a ball. Chris Welsh, who works on the television side for the Reds, said in a game against St. Louis, he threw over 17 times with Vince Coleman and got booed by his home fans.
And then what happened? He threw home and Coleman stole second. That's the best part of that story to me. I mean, yeah, getting booed by your own fans isn't very much fun, but then when Vince steals it anyway,
makes it even tougher.
Oh, it's a great story.
And he said they weren't just booing. He said they were booing loudly, you know, getting after him. Chris is born and raised in this area, too, and playing for his hometown team. 2-2 the count on Carpenter. 3-2. Hayward on deck. Three-two pitch. There goes Wong, and there goes a high fly ball into right center. Hamilton back. Goodbye. Carpenter puts the Cardinals on top with a two-run bomb into right center.
Carpenter has been an all-star 2 straight seasons for the Cardinals. And you get to be an all-star by getting big hits and being productive. And wow, was that some production. Danny got another ball up in the zone, as Colton Wong did, who was a runner at first, and he just smoked that ball.
392 feet, one of the deepest parts of this ballpark, is Hayward. Taps it foul. 1 ball, 1 strike.
There's the pitch. It's up, out over the plate. Deep part of the ballpark. Hamilton's athletic, but he can't catch that.
One and two on Hayward.
And easily the save.
Why not? Throw him in there.
Just try to get him in there somehow, Danny.
Strikeout of Hayward.
Well, Dan, there have been some moments in this game where it has felt like the Cardinals were going to win. Then moments later, you had the sense that the Cardinals were not going to win. And this was the Reds game. And it's kind of gone back and forth and kind of on the edge. The Cardinals were on the edge in the bottom of the 10th inning with Villanueva on the mound. And we talked about the Seagrass moment. And it doesn't necessarily mean we're out of moments right now.
Give Villanueva a lot of credit, though. Bases loaded, striking out Todd Frazier, and then the big strikeout of Billy Hamilton as well along the way.
How did it feel walk from Trevor Rosenthal with nobody out?
Sure.
In the bottom of the 9th.
It's in on the hands of Holiday. 1 ball, 1 strike. A 4 RBI day for Matt Carpenter. Two and 1.
3 1/3 scoreless so far, starting with that Seager strikeout, but one more important inning to go.
And Holiday can't believe that's a strike. And a broken bat, slowly hit to short. Cozart gloves, throws, makes the play. 4 RBIs today for the Cardinal third baseman. 2 with 1 swing of the bat. Birds back on top. The last Cardinal leadoff man to have 4 RBIs was Rafael Furcal back in 2011. Did that on August 3rd of 2011.
I'm surprised Carpenter hadn't done it since then, because he is an RBI guy and has the potential to really be a guy could hit in a lot of spots in the lineup, but he was the right man at the right time in the 11th, to be sure.
Speaking of Furcal, we're hoping this is a happy flight back to St. Louis.
I'll say.
Brandon Phillips here. Then Bruce and Kevin Gregg. They're out of position players unless they pinch hit with a starter.
Wow. Wonder what starter they would use. Not Cueto.
Marquis.
Marquis.
He could hit.
Good point.
A broken bat and a base hit for Brandon Phillips.
As you said, this game is not over yet. You keep a game within 2 runs and you're just kind of a base hit and a home run away from tying it, and that's where the Reds are right now. And Jay Bruce, the kind of guy that could do it. Middle of the plate, broken bat. 11 hits now for Cincinnati.
And Jason Marquis has moved to the on-deck circle. And a ball taken by Bruce, who homered back in the 2nd inning. Pair of walks, he is struck out and also fly to center.
Dan, one of the stories thus far in this game is the 13 left on base for Cincinnati, especially the ones they've left late in this game.
Cardinals have stranded 8. That's tapped foul, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. One and 2.
Strike zone appears to have gotten a little bigger from about the 7th inning on. You agree with that? We've had a lot of walks since then, but the strike zone's gotten bigger.
Especially in on the right-handers. That pitch or away to the lefties has been called. I go back to the Billy Hamilton strikeout in the 10th. Also the pitch called a strike on Holiday. The fans booing right now because there are some Cardinal fans cheering, "Let's go Cardinals." 2-2 the count. Big strikeout. Jason Marquis will hit.
Breaking ball. Actually a changeup. It's kind of sunk at the last minute.
The Cardinals would win this game. This is one of those early season signature wins if they hold on. The kind of series that you win as well, 2 out of 3, and that's big. But still 2 outs to go. First pitch to Jason Marquis.
17 strikeouts now for Cincinnati this afternoon. 17.
Not sure that's the normal spikes that you would see with Jason Marquis on the mound. I'm sure he didn't anticipate playing in this game. One and one the count.
Well, he's definitely a threat with the bat in his hand. He's not just an everyday pitcher up there, normal run-of-the-mill guy. This guy can swing the bat.
Silver Slugger Award winner. The 1-1 pitch. Instead of check on Brandon Phillips, the runner at first base. Is popped out. Molina near the screen, and he's got it. 2 down.
The Reds with a short bench forced to go to Marquis. A lot of it has to do with the injury to Pena, which was not anticipated by them. It forced them to get deeper into their bench quicker and forced them to have to use Marquis, but they're now down to their last out.
Negron. He came in for the injured Pena to pinch run. Since that time, he has singled and walked. They'll play behind Phillips. There goes Phillips to second base. Fielder's indifference, no steal. The 2-0. 2 balls and 1 strike. Three and 1. Cozart on deck. Matt Carpenter's 2-run homers giving the Cardinals a 7-5 lead. He walked him. The winning run comes to the plate.
It's never easy. One of the things I love about baseball is the fact that there's no clock. Well, I guess I can't say that anymore completely, but you don't have to kind of throw up the 3-pointer at the end. You just keep hitting. As long as you can hit, as long as you can get base runners, you don't have to kind of change your style. You just keep playing. And the Cardinals kept grinding in the 11th inning, got the 2-run home run from Matt Carpenter, and the Reds haven't given up yet here in the bottom of the 11th.
Cozart back in 2012 knocked out 15 home runs. He does have power. Just 4 last year. Three for 11 against the Cardinals right-hander. Runners at first and second. First pitch taken for a ball. The 1-0. Chop to short. Peralta to second and out. And the game comes to a close, and the Cardinals take 2 of 3 and won a victory here today in 11 innings, 7-5.
What a game this was. Plenty of close calls along the way. We had a few arguments and challenges, and we also had some great moments out of the Cardinals bullpen, especially late, from Rosenthal pitching out of a jam in the 10th. Villanueva just doing a nice job to end up with the victory. Really, really hard-fought win here in Cincinnati.
4 hours, 3 minutes, hard-fought, and it's off to St. Louis. Mike Matheny said, hang in there. They did. Carpenter, a 2-run shot, and the Cardinals win it in 11, 7-5. Post-game show next.